everyone, and welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Mashle, Dr. Stone, and Jujutsu Kaisen week to week. Back this week covering Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 12. I'm your host, Knox.
And Nickums.
Joined tonight by a very special guest, Axel Ablaze. Axel, thanks for joining us, man. Welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. My official face reveal. Not like my face has been a secret on my channel before, but everybody is just like, hey, we see the dolphin, and it's like, we don't care about the guy behind the mask. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, but yeah, I'm on camera today, so
Yes.
cool.
And you look
Awesome.
great. Yes.
Yes, no, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, dude.
Finally getting a chance to. Midwest content creators coming together.
Unite.
Yes, just you guys in Minnesota, me in Wisconsin. So
yeah, we're like we're neighbors
meeting
right
in the
next
middle.
door. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Hell yeah, man. Well, for our audience out there that like might not be familiar with your content, Axel, why don't you go ahead and tell our audience what it is you do and where they can find you?
Sure. So I run the Axel Blaze Productions YouTube channel. It was a very small channel until the tail end of 2020 when it was just like, hey, I'm gonna be on a Masked Man video before he became Asura, and then all of a sudden it was just like everyone sees my content. And it's just like so like on my channel I talk about different anime and manga news, different content. I'm a little sporadic right now, but I'm getting back into it. Got a lot of different content coming up. I'm gonna have like a 3-part thing on Toonami because it's a guy in his late 20s. Toonami was my childhood.
Everything.
Everything. So I feel like the younger kids need to know about the golden age of Toonami.
I
Absolutely.
agree with you.
Yeah, I love making anime and manga content. It took several years for me to finally get into a groove on my channel and putting a dolphin in front of my face. But you know, it's worth it.
I love your
it's
avatar.
fun.
I think that's awesome. So is that from something? I don't think I read the manga that's from.
Yes.
That's from a thing.
So it's from Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin.
Okay.
Which is running in Weekly Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
Not for long.
Really?
You don't think so?
It's on its way
it's
out?
an Axe territory.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
for sure,
Like,
for sure.
The
I never
current
picked this one
plot
up.
is the current plot is getting towards like the axe point. Like
Sure.
you can tell that it's really accelerating.
Oh no, dude.
And the sales weren't the greatest, despite this being Ryuhei Tamura's 3rd time in Shonen Jump.
Right.
Oh wow.
Beelzebub was good. I like Beelzebub.
Oh, it's
Yes,
the
and
Beelzebub
that's the
guy?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know
No.
that. I've heard Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin is good. The Anime Lately guys actually recommended that to me too. Yeah.
So, don't get me wrong. I love
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have Orphe the Dolphin as my channel mascot if I didn't love
Right.
Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin.
Yeah.
But I do realize it's like the shortcomings of the series. It's
Right.
a lot better than Hungry Marie when Ryuhei Tamura was just like, I'm gonna make a rom-com, and no.
What's Hard Boiled
It
Cop
was-
and Dolphin? Is that like a that? I mean, it's a. Is it
So-
a
Like
comedy?
a shonen.
Is it a
Battle
comedy?
shonen
Yes.
comedy kind of
Okay.
thing, yeah.
Okay.
It started out as more of like just a comedy with
Mhm.
some like battle stuff, and then it was just like, all right, sales aren't great. Time to hard pivot into the mystery end of things. And,
Right.
like, it's a little too late, despite
Right.
like things being really great right now. But
Right.
it's just like,
Yeah, that's the worst feeling
Axe
ever.
time.
That's how it was
Oh.
like kind of with Samurai 8 too, that I remember it started off really weak, and then as it starts really showing what it's trying to do, it's like already past that point of no
Yeah.
return, and you
Yeah.
can totally
Yeah.
feel that, you know.
I get that, but
Yeah.
like Samurai 8, like you could tell that like Shueisha was really trying to push it.
Yeah.
So like, despite the fact that it was just like, like the majority of the way through,
Right.
like I think they learned their lesson with Kishimoto, and they're
Absolutely.
like, just because somebody is a veteran doesn't mean we can keep pushing them if things aren't working well.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the thing. And Build King is probably out the door after that. So you know.
Oh
it
man,
is what it
I've been
is.
hearing nothing but
Ugh.
negatives for Build King. I've only read like the first like chapter or whatever, but
Build King has become a meme on my
Mhm.
channel because it deserves to be a meme
Yeah.
at this point. Just
Yeah.
because it's a clone of Toriko, and you would
Yeah.
think, it's a clone of Toriko. I like Toriko. That's a good thing. No, the fact that it's like literally a carbon copy of
Yeah.
Toriko,
Yeah.
but like with building things, and they're just throwing everything at the wall and trying to see what
sticks. Yeah.
Oh no.
Never know. Never know how
not-
it goes. You know what I mean? Because it's like
No.
when you're a veteran, you might have this outlook of, well, I've done this already. I can kind of do whatever I
Yeah.
want, and it's gonna sell, or they're going to let me. I have a little bit more freedom in regards to editorial and things like that because I've proven myself. And then when you don't have as much of an editorial influence, then it could turn into
what
something
happened
like
with
that.
Samurai 8.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guarantee you.
Yeah,
because like Naruto is great.
Yeah.
Like regardless of what your opinions are, like the fact that Naruto went as long as it did was great. And the thing is, there was a lot of editorial involvement with it.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
And I think that's
If
what
it was
the
up to
issue with
Naruto, if it was
Samurai-
up to Kishimoto, I think he wanted to make like all of the characters animals or some shit.
I think he wanted to kill off Sasuke too,
Yeah,
like at
that's
one
so
point.
weird.
Like he
Wow.
wasn't gonna like make
Yeah.
Sasuke like a recurring thing.
Sure.
But I think that's why Samurai 8 failed, because I think they just were like, Kishimoto's like, he had like 600 some chapters for Naruto. Just let him do whatever he wants. And it was just like,
oh shit, we
Oh,
let him,
no.
we let him do whatever
What
he
have we
wanted.
done?
Yeah. Okay, well,
Ugh.
I will make sure to throw Axel's YouTube channel link down in the description for you while you're down there. We want to ask you to take a look at the link tree that also exists there. And that's going to be where you find us on our individual social media accounts, ways that you can join online communities associated with Project Manga like Discord, ways that you can listen to the Project Manga podcast wherever you normally listen to your podcasts, and ways that you can support what we do here by checking out our online store and our Patreon. But getting into the discussion tonight, Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 12, I think we can jump right into the coverage tonight with Jujutsu Kaisen. Chapter 139. Oh man. Okay, so what is the title on this one? Hunter. Right. So this opening scene, wow. First of all, if this is like the start of an episode in the anime, I'm just like picturing this like opening scene right now, and I'm getting like Crollo Lucifer in like the York New City like orchestra like scene, like kind of like vibes, you know what I mean? Where you might have like a hymnal, kind of orchestra, like playing in the background during a scene.
Either that
like
or
this.
silence, right?
Either
Just
that or just silence, yeah.
like, ooh.
Yeah. How do you guys? All right. So how do we feel about 139 as a whole? Axel, you're new. You're new. How do you feel?
So, once again, this is just kind of like Gigi Akutami, just like, you think you know what's going to happen in Jujutsu Kaisen, but you're wrong.
Right.
Because, like, this entire time, like, at the start of the chapter, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, Yuji is apparently hunting down cursed spirits, and Choso is there, and he's willingly participating in this for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then, like, because this build-up to, like, from the previous chapters, you're thinking, oh, okay, the stuff with Naoya is gonna happen somewhere near, like, the middle, maybe, of this arc. Like, the Yuta Yuji confrontation is gonna be the big climax of this series. And then it's just like, hey,
no, you get it all
guess
right
who
now.
showed up?
So
it's like, oh, Naoya's here. It's like, oh, and they're fighting. And then it's just like, oh, Yuta's here.
Yeah, all this stuff you thought was
Super
going to be
hype.
like towards the end of the arc climactic stuff is just happening next chapter. So
it's
this is super high octane and wild, and it makes me really excited for the arc, because it's like you were saying, if we were expecting all of this towards the end and they're giving it to us kind of in the beginning, I don't think that this conflict will reach any kind of definite resolution. On any, I doubt Naoya, will kill Yuji. You know what I mean? Megumi's probably on the way, because he's looking for Yuji. So if he shows up, I doubt Megumi will be killed as well. So I don't think Yuta's going to kill Yuji in this fight, or at all. So I think that this is just like a nice, like little like initial skirmish to kind of like see how everyone feels about everyone involved. And then someone is probably going to get hurt very badly, maybe everybody, and then they leave and think about who just whooped their ass, and then we come back for a bigger, fight later. Is how I'm thinking that this goes.
It's definitely, you it's hard to believe that this would be an entire arc of this battle between Yuji, Naoya, and Yuta, right? Like, there's no way this is going to go on for like 20 chapters right now. You know what I mean?
No.
It's too soon for a huge battle. So like, certainly, I totally agree with y'all that like we're like testing the waters here. We're showing all the parties being in play, and something is gonna break it up. But like, it's hard to say what exactly right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Going
But
back
I love
to
this
the
intro, like you were saying. Like this intro is so sick with the clapping and like this thing on page 3 where his arms are just like he just clapped, but his arms are just like wide as if he's like welcoming these cursed spirits up under the bridge or whatever.
Yes.
So tight, so tight.
So good. And
Now,
the fan art for this has been incredible already. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Axel.
I believe it.
Now, do you think he's simply clapping his hands when he's doing this, or is he trying to like send out cursed energy when he's clapping, and that's what's drawing them in?
Ooh.
Like, is
That's
this
a good
one
question.
of those? Like, is this one of those things? And like, I'm gonna make this reference just because I finished Claymore. Yeah,
Nice.
Is it like a Claymore thing where like they're sensing Yoma energy, or is it one of those things where they're just sensing motion, sound, or whatever?
Sure.
Like, what is it that's drawing them in?
Yeah, that's
like,
a good question, because just clapping, why would just clap? I mean, if there's a bunch of curses running around and there's a bunch of noise happening in the city, I mean, Yuji's really strong, so who knows? His claps could be like sonic booms, you know what I mean? For all we know, but
the fact that there are so many of them right there in that instant, and by all means, like, obviously we know that Sukuna's fingers have like that draw.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he's got he's got like 10 of them inside
15,
of him.
I think.
Like 15,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. And, like, all that energy like is within him, and you can bet that all these curses are just like, I want a piece of that. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, like, I'm just thinking like a simple clap wouldn't necessarily make sense. And the fact that Choso also said, like, later on in the chapter, how much Yuji has already grown, it wouldn't be outside that realm of possibilities that like he's gotten that far with his cursed energy that he's able to send it out as a kind of a beacon thing to draw people in.
I like that.
The only other
this like technique down.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of in this situation is that perhaps Tokyo, like the Shibuya area, wherever they are exactly, maybe it is so depopulated and quiet that you would be able to hear claps really easily. Like, certainly if it was like regular Tokyo, like a clap would do nothing, right? Like you'd never hear it over the hustle and bustle of the city. But maybe like it's like just desolate. It's hard to like tell because we've only gotten like that one scene like last chapter or 2 chapters ago with like that little girl in the convenience store, right? And it seemed pretty sparse with people.
Yeah.
But
I think those are
it's
the
really
only characters in the scene was that little girl, and then Yuta, and it seemed like they panned out pretty far into the city. Not too far, but I mean, like, if there were going to be more people there, I feel like we could have seen them in any of those panels. But as far as the beacon thing goes, I think that Axel, I think you are what you said about him having eaten more fingers, and just I think that he's just a bigger beacon in general, just off of eating more fingers, right? Because curses are attracted to him regardless, just because he's Sukuna's vessel. So I think that maybe they're attracted to the general area, or maybe they're just in the general area, and then now that he's like making a point, they're like, okay, that's exactly where it's coming from. And and then they can jump on it.
I think one of the things that we still don't know, I think, we don't know how much time has passed between the Shibuya incident and right now, correct?
Right.
I think there was one timestamp a couple chapters ago, but I think we've only gotten one timestamp, and a bunch of other shit has happened. But I think we do. I think we do know that it's been a couple days.
Right. And we had that giant info dump chapter a couple weeks ago where it was just like, hey, word vomit.
Yeah.
Like, across several pages. So like I know one of the things that they talked about was, evacuating the citizens of Tokyo. So by all means, at this point, we don't know who all is left there.
Right.
I mean, like, by all means, like, we don't even know necessarily how much time has passed between Yuta meeting with the head families and now. So
I think the only timestamp we got was for the Zenin family chapter, now that I think about it, because it talks about Naobito's passing, so I think it gives us a timestamp in that chapter.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I think we don't know how much time it's been since Yuta talked to the higher ups. I don't think we know anything like that. But as far as the conversations that we get inside of this chapter with Choso commenting to himself about Yuji's, new cursed energy kind of like situation, which is great to hear. But
he's now a demon god. It's
yeah,
so sick. What the
yeah,
fuck?
he's now a demon god. That shit is so wild. So this is cool though, because one, this situation with all of these curses running rampant in the city is essentially just like, shonen training. You know what I mean? Like you go fight a whole bunch of these monsters for the next week and you're just going to be tighter, like when you come out of that situation. But also this comment that Choso has where he's like, as impressive as ever, little brother. And then he's like, are you still calling me that? He's like, I'll keep calling you that over and over. Try to recollect. After all, your father had stitches on his forehead, didn't he? So like, how do you guys feel about that?
He's saying it's like Noritoshi Kamo, right? Like just like Getu, right? Like, but that's so, we've obviously never seen Yuji's father, right? We know nothing about his parents ever since chapter 1 with the grandfather saying like, you want to know about your parents? Like this might be a good time. He's like, no, I'm good or whatever. It's like, oh my god, if Yuji's reaction here is one of, you're right, you know what I mean? Because he looks like kind of shook a little bit, right? Like on the bottom of page 11, he looks a little shook, and if that's shook because he does have stitches on his forehead, that's exactly what Kiko was saying, right? Like 3 weeks ago or whatever, he was saying like that Yuji might literally be the same kind of entity
like
as Choso.
Death painting.
But that's wild.
That's
why would
wild.
we expect that? That's crazy.
We wouldn't, but this line of dialogue goes back to one of the last chapters of Shibuya Incident when Choso is there and he has this dialogue and he's like, I really have 3 parents. You know what I mean? I have Noritoshi. Yeah, I have Noritoshi Kamo, the one who put me into the woman who birthed me, and then that woman is my mother, and then there's another parent that I can't. Either way, he was talking about parents. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming that is playing into this conversation in the newest chapter. Your father's had stitches on his forehead, didn't he? Like he's trying to make Yuji remember the memory he has that he got from the ability of
Yuji's latent ability.
The way that I took this is like, okay, Yuji and Choso do not have the same father. But Choso genuinely believes that, so all of his dialogue is going to be like, try to remember, man. We got the same. He believes
it so much that he's like, don't you remember your own father, Yuji? Like the guy I'm thinking of in my head, even though he's maybe never even seen Yuji's father, right?
Right, exactly. That's definitely what I think is happening here. What do you think, Axel?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what like the signs are pointing to.
Right.
So like by all means, it would be great if it actually turns out that Noritoshi Kamo is the one that is his parent, whether that is biologically or in a similar way to Choso and the other death paintings. Like there's so much that's still ambiguous with it, and honestly I would not be disappointed if that was the way that it went,
because I'm pretty sure Choso's like as a fetus is like 150 years old. Like he was originally created as a death painting like 150 years old, and then just recently got put into the woman that birthed him, I think is the way that I remember it. So like Yuji, we know is like legitimately like 17 years old, right? We don't know that, but like still, oh god.
Yeah. And I think the thing is like, if it is Noritoshi Kamo, like, and people are like, oh well, it's so obvious, like, because I love Jujutsu Kaisen, don't get me wrong, but the fandom just keeps like, they keep pulling an Anchorman. It's just like, well, that escalated quickly, and then just like the expectations just keep going up and up and up and up. So it's just like, oh man, an obvious twist, boo, pitchforks. So like, I wouldn't be disappointed by it. Like, it's already interesting that like, and we don't know all of Noritoshi Kamo's history at this point.
Right.
We don't know what happened between all the various bodies that he has inhabited up to this point.
Right.
We don't even know if Geto, the current body he's in, is his final destination.
Right.
By all means, he could be prepping anybody
Maybe
to
Yuji,
be the next vessel. It could be Yuji,
right?
But it also could be any one of the people that he awakened with that ability. Where like you had like people that are now better vessels, or people that awakened cursed spirit energy that they couldn't like previously,
and they have a technique that is better than the body that he has right now, you know what I mean? So he could jump into
Geto is really
anything,
strong, so like by all means he wouldn't necessarily want to vacate Geto's body unless he either was forced to do so or somebody that was on his list has now been prepped and is now a capable body for him to be in.
Yeah.
Right.
By all means, Yuji Sukuna could be his potential final vessel, or this masterpiece that he's building up to. We don't know, because like we didn't even necessarily know that there was this grand scheme that Geto was making until like the later part of Shibuya. Like this entire time we're just thinking, oh, Geto's this like cool guy who's just like, all right, cursed friends, you guys go do what you want to do, and I'm just gonna be back here and be like, that's not a good idea, that's a good idea. And then it turns out I am the mastermind, and it's like all at the same time as like My Hero with like All for One. So it's just like ha 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 ha, the masterminds at work in like both series. So like it's really great.
As far as like the father like thing with Yuji and like Kamo, it's an interesting thought. I think I want to think that there's just like a timeline situation that might or like a timeline issue that might prevent all of that from actually
happening. I was totally thinking that too, right? Where like it doesn't make 100% sense if it is Noritoshi Kamo that Choso's referring to, because like surely Yuji's like grandfather would have known about Noritoshi Kamo, right? And would have maybe like been a little more adamant about telling him this, right? Like it would have been, someone would have known, right? Like that Yuji's father was Noritoshi Kamo if it was, right? But what if Brain-kun, like the idea I was having in response to the timeline issue is like, what if Brain-kun can leave Geto's body and inhabit another body whenever he wants? What if he has like 5 different bodies for whatever situation he's trying to do?
And then
so he had like his
to the bodies whenever.
His body that he was seducing, Yuji's mom with, right? And then he has a different body that he's like doing the Choso shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like we don't know if he's a body swapper. Like who knows how many bodies he's got?
Let me slip into something more comfortable real quick.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, well that is a wild thing to think about, but
it is also possible, because we don't know what the other 2 big Jujutsu Sorcerer families are like at this point. Obviously, up to this point, the big focus has been on the Zenin family. So it's very possible like that Yuji could have some kind of relation to either of the other 2 big families.
Sure.
And I think that's gonna be I'm gonna make a prediction that the other families are gonna be a bigger part of the more middle part of this arc, especially since we've got the Naoya and Yuta stuff up at the beginning. There's gotta be more. Like, what else is gonna happen? Like, especially since like the other families were in charge of like telling Yuta, hey, we still want to kill you, but first we want you to kill that other guy. Then we'll maybe kill you, maybe not, probably still will, but we want you to kill him first because he took off the arm of your best friend. So I think we're still going to get more involved with that, like, again, because this is the beginning of the arc. But I would not be surprised if somehow we find out that Yuji is part of either of the 2 big families. It could be even crazier, maybe. This is just me wildly speculating at this point. It'd be even crazier if it turns out that Yuji is from this secret 4th family that got wiped out by the other 3 families for whatever reason. Like, I mean, because who's to say that like the big 3 were always the big 3?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Were there other families involved? Which ones of them came together? Which ones of them were eliminated for whatever reason? Whether it was friend or foe. Like,
power shift history is something that is very like interesting to me in Jujutsu Kaisen, because it's like you're saying, we have these 3 big families, but the coolest thing that you said was like, had these always been the big 3 families?
Right.
And it's like, if there was like another major clan that was, there before Kamo, and it was Zenin, Gojo, and then whatever this other clan was, and then Kamo, snuffed them out, or whatever the history is, I want to know that shit. You know what I mean? Because it's like, because we know that there's more than just these 3 clans. You know what I mean?
And it's also possible too that maybe he has some kind of heritage out of Japan.
Sure.
Like, by all means, just based on his hair color. Like obviously it's very different compared to a lot of other people. Like compared to other anime where like they're like, hey, you're anime characters, so your hair can be any color you want.
Right.
Compared to that in Jujutsu Kaisen, for the most part, everybody's hair has been pretty normal.
Right.
So we've got a case of like an Ichigo Kurosaki kind of thing where it's just like, oh, he's got like strawberry-ish hair. Does he have some kind of heritage outside of Japan?
Sure.
And, like by all means, like obviously the cursed energy thing is a big thing in Japan. It's not as big of a thing around the world. But what if there was some family faction, whatever, in another country or something that he has that heritage from? So again, this is me just wildly speculating.
Right,
Why not?
Cool thoughts, though.
I don't get this opportunity to wildly speculate all the
Yeah,
time.
that's what we're here
like,
for, baby.
Yeah, let's do it right now. And then like have everybody come after my head after a while, or everybody be like, he's got the receipts for when he said this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like
Just get it out.
But like
Absolutely. I like the thoughts, man. Yeah, this is one where I feel like it gives a lot of fuel for that. You know what I mean? Because it's like one, we have this crazy cliffhanger situation at the very end where we literally have like all of the biggest people of interest in the arc in the same location besides Megumi, who we can assume is on the way to this situation since they are currently looking for Yuji. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a ton to speculate on how that confrontation is going to go. There's a ton to like just the dialogue, like that one line of dialogue on like your father and the stitches, like the cursed energy flow. Like even though the first like 7 pages of this chapter are just like no dialogue and just action, when there is dialogue, no matter what, Gege gives us a lot to think about and talk about. You know what I mean? And it's just such a dense manga.
I want to talk a little bit about like Naoya's ability. Like so Naoya is Naobito's like son, right? And Naobito we have known as like the fastest after Gojo, right? He's like super fast. And obviously Naoya also very fast here. He says on page 17, "Shall I try upping my speed?" I'm wondering, like, could he have not necessarily
More
the
frames.
exact same ability as Naobito, but really similar. Like, so when we were like thinking it earlier about how Naobito's ability works, we were wondering like, since it is video frames, can he like fast forward himself? You know, like hit the button on the remote that's like increase the speed of the recording.
Yeah.
Maybe Naoya has that part of the ability that we were speculating of. He doesn't have the frame like capture thing, but maybe he has like just a speed boost. Something about his ability makes him faster, obviously. Yeah. And they comment Yuji and Choso say like he's fast, but you know something's weird. Like it's probably a curse technique. Like what do y'all think about like what his ability might be?
I saw somebody say that like Naobito has 24 frames, and that like now you could have 60. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Like more?
Yeah, more is something that I heard, but I don't know if that would make him faster if there's more frames, right?
I assume it would make you faster.
But if it makes you faster, then like why is Naobito the fastest sorcerer and not
right?
Naoya?
So maybe he has less frames.
Unless this is a situation where like it's just an epithet and there are people that are better than you, but like that's just your title right now.
Especially if you're the head of the Zenin family.
Right, exactly.
You can't be the third fastest after my son who's not the head of the family, right? Like that would be like an insult to yourself almost, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this guy really is faster.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
It's very possible that he just didn't have that kind of a situation that would demand his top speed. But also, like it would make sense just like, oh, the head of the family who prides himself on speed isn't the fastest?
Right.
Right. So maybe we should just keep him the fastest until he dies or something. Just make sure Naobito's, happy here. in the Zenin household. But yeah, I have no idea, dude. I mean last week I was speculating that he was a 10 shadow user as well as Megumi. Know, but now in this situation it's like if he's it's feeling like he's just Naobito Junior. You know what I mean? At least right now, which he literally is, but like also like inability too. You know what I mean? So it's like
the only other thing that I found was interesting about like what we're given of Naoya as he's acting in this chapter is on page 14. So this is just after he says like with regards to Megumi. Like, I think I'm gonna have him die. I'd prefer if he probably wrote something first. Like, I don't give a shit about being the head of the Zenin family or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, like, look at this bottom panel where he slips in through Yuji and Choso,
and you can see
but look
the
at
trail.
that trail.
Yeah.
That trail is like curved.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it isn't like he jumped like straight in a direction. You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's like he slid in all smooth.
Yeah.
Maybe might be nothing.
Yeah.
Might be very important to his ability. Hard for me to say.
Yeah, that's a good spot though. I didn't notice that trail
Mhm.
leading up to the Kana
Right.
before when I first read the chapter.
I don't think it would be a detail that was just thrown in for the sake of just being a random detail.
Right.
I think you're right that it's got to have some kind of indication for
Yeah.
that. I mean, this could be very on the nose, but his ability may be something snake-like. Since with a lot of people, your cursed abilities and whatnot are manifestations of your personality, your history, stuff like that.
Sure.
So, like, especially since he wants, or all this time, he's kind of wanted to bite the head of the snake that was at the top and become the new head.
Sure.
Maybe it is some kind of snake-like ability, and like
Sure.
that weaving is something
Okay,
he's
okay.
really good at.
I have something that might fit in here. Okay, so I was just watching the new episode of the anime, right?
Yeah.
And I was reminded in that episode that Megumi's like the 10 shadows ability, right? If one of your Shikigami dies, the power of that Shikigami is transferred, spread across all the other remaining alive ones, right? So what if Naoya does have the 10 shadows ability, and the only remaining Shikigami has left is the snake? And it's super powerful because it's been beefed up by the deaths of the other 9, because he obviously did not get the 10th.
Yeah.
And then so he's like a super powered snake one, so he has like snake punches. He definitely seems to have some good hand-to-hand, like, whoa, you know, like
yeah.
What if there's a next step
cool.
to that?
Yeah.
Where like he was one of them, but instead of letting, one of his shadows inherit those abilities, he consumed or absorbed that shadow to give him those abilities.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
like, by all means, like, I mean, that being said, like, a lot of the thinking that we have so far is that like everybody's abilities are going to be very similar to one another.
Right, right.
Even though like abilities so far have been all over the place. Like just because you're Zenin doesn't mean that you necessarily have the same abilities as everybody else.
Right.
I mean, like obviously the sisters are a good example of that.
Right.
With like bullet creation by Mai obviously is not the same thing
as frames
like,
or 10 shadows. Yeah.
Right.
So
Plus,
knows?
we get that dialogue from like chapter I think we referenced it last week with chapter 113. I think is what it was, with the conversation with Toji and Naobito, the flashback. He's like, all right, so I want 8,000 if he gets an inherited technique, 7,000 if he doesn't get one, and then Naobito's like, I'll give you 10,000 if it's an inherited technique. You know what I mean? So that plays right into what you're talking about right now, Axel, about how it could literally be anything.
Yeah.
But they're hoping for an inherited technique. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Either way, it's something powerful.
Yeah.
Because
for
obviously
sure.
anyone that is, well, at least as we've seen so far in the Zenin family, which is an unfortunate thing, it seems like the males are inheriting more of the stronger abilities, or at least able to bring out those stronger abilities compared to the women.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like, I mean, regardless, the 3 guys that we saw like convening together with the will, they've got to have strong abilities.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm very curious to see how closely they are related to Naobito, if they are. It is still a very distinct possibility, especially since, sometimes when you idolize somebody, like you create like abilities, personalities, or something to try and copy, if not better yourself over that person that you're trying to copy. So it could be anything. I mean, and that's the beauty of Jujutsu Kaisen. Is that, like anybody can have any ability, like regardless of how strange or off the wall it might be. Yeah, I think especially as we find out more of these heads of families and whatnot, we're gonna see some crazy stuff, and I am all for that ride.
Hell yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
Playing back into your your comment that you just made about how, you know, anything can happen in Jujutsu Kaisen. I think that's definitely true. But what I respect about Jujutsu Kaisen so much is that it can fly off the rails quickly. You know what I mean? But then
Hmm.
once everything is explained, it all fits into that, you know, cohesive
Mhm.
continuity that Gege's been laying
Yes.
out. So I think about that, you know, a lot actually. You know, and when you compare it to something like Hunter x Hunter, where you have this energy system that is, you know, all exposition dumped on you and then rehashed over and over and over again to make sure you get it, then us as the audience can look at that information and speculate what abilities can look like. In Jujutsu Kaisen, you kind of have to wait to see what the abilities are, and then once you get the explanation for them, you find out they all fit into that, you know, into that mold of cursed energy as a system that's been explained to us. But
Yep.
like, I think I prefer it. I almost prefer it this way better, because then some wild new ability will pop up out of nowhere. I'll be like, how does that make sense?
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? And then it does. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, I like having my references to be like, okay, yeah, this checks out based on my understanding here. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I like that mystery and that uncertainty. No, especially knowing that the author cares so much about continuity that it will make sense even if I have no idea how to fathom it right now. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
Sounds like another great series that I really enjoy and shows
Yeah.
them. Cough, cough, undead unluck. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Push
talking
the
about Jujutsu Kaisen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But no, push the agenda on this show as much as I feel like we don't as much as we should bring up how great Undead Unluck
Shame.
is on this show. Yeah, I feel like there could be more
Um,
references there, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
The last thing I wanted to mention in this chapter was just
Yeah.
this last 2 pages, right, where we have this battle going on between a special grade 1 sorcerer, Naoya, and
Mhm.
obviously Yuji and Choso, and all three of them, including Naoya, are
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
someone is here, you know,
Yeah.
and like Yuji saying like, oh, is this Gojo?
Yeah,
Like,
dude, that's crazy.
no, it's something creepier.
Yeah.
Like what? Yo, like,
Yeah.
ooh. It did a very good job for me personally to like reinforce that Utah is like kind of creepy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
like
absolutely.
intensely powerful, but creepy powerful.
Yeah, there's
Powerful, creepy. I don't know. Like
some going
Yeah.
on with Buddy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, but this
Yeah.
is wild. And then he says, you're not alone. But he doesn't seem to be bothered at all. It's like, I'll just kill all of you then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just here for Yuji, but I mean, like, rah. Yeah, dude, I can't wait. But I think I'm good on Jujutsu this week, unless you guys had more.
I've got one thing left.
Oh, sure. What do you got,
So-
Axel?
All right, so I never got to make a video on this.
Okay.
This is my own fault.
Yeah.
Not making videos, I have a long history of that. So
Yeah.
I need to stop making promises that I can't keep.
Yeah.
But based on the fact that we're seeing Yuta so early and whatnot,
Mhm.
based on all the stuff that we got at the end of the last arc, one of the predictions that I wanted to make for the arc as a whole, especially because Gigi is making so many references to past series and whatnot, I am still of the mindset that the current arc that we're going to be in is going to be a mix of the Chapter Black arc from Yu Yu Hakusho
Mm-hmm.
and the Soul Society arc from Bleach.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And I'm feeling that more and more as like time goes on.
Mhm.
Because obviously like Yuji's head isn't the only one that's on the line right now. Like the principal has also been marked for death.
Yeah.
Gojo, like whether he's found or not, is kind of like we're gonna kill him if we can.
Yeah.
But like I'm really interested to see like if we're seeing more similarities with these. Obviously, we haven't seen any of the people yet that were affected by Geto Noritoshi Kamo, his manipulation that he did.
Right.
So we haven't seen anybody like that, which we'll probably see more of that as the series goes on.
Yeah.
Maybe Yuta being there as early as he is, he's just like, hey, I'm actually on your side, and
Right.
these are some people you'll meet.
Yeah.
Or we'll have another third party kind of swoop in and get Yuji and Choso out of there.
That's probably how this gets
Probably
interrupted,
that.
is by like
Yes.
some of those kind of people that Geto set up in his plan interrupting
gotta
the
be
fight in some
something.
kind of way. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. But I'm thinking that overall, we're definitely going to be seeing similarities to the Chapter Black arc and the Soul Society arc combined. I really do think that we're going to be seeing more of an exploration of the three families in
Yeah.
like the Jujutsu like hierarchy as a whole,
Mhm.
which ties into that whole, you know, Soul Society arc of like Rukia being marked for death.
Yeah.
But again, the fact that the end of the last arc was just like all these people had been affected, just like the chapter Black arc, I'm thinking we're gonna see stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's a
whether
really
we
cool
see
thought.
like more parallels to that or not, I mean, Akutami has been doing a lot that
Yeah.
has
Mhm.
been, you know, like significant, like marking stuff from like Hunter x Hunter or Yu Yu Hakusho or Bleach, or the
Mhm.
fact that there was a freaking Junji Ito Uzumaki reference,
Yeah,
which is
dude.
freaking fantastic.
Love
As a
that.
Junji Ito fan myself, like,
Yeah.
like anything is possible. Anything could be a callback. Anything could surpass what we've seen in the past. But
Mhm.
like, I feel like that's kind of the mood that we're going to be having for this arc. I could be entirely wrong. Again, the fact that we have Naoya and Yuta appearing like what 4 chapters into this arc already,
Right.
like
Yeah.
against Yuji,
Yeah.
anything could happen.
Yeah.
Anything.
And literally
We
anything.
don't know.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people
I'm
think that
excited for
Sukuna's
this
about to
ride.
like, you know, because people obviously think that Yuji is no chance for Yuta. So I mean, if it comes down to it, and this is a true 1v1 of Yuji versus Yuta, a lot of people think that it's gonna actually be Sukuna doing, you know, kind of doing his thing. If that means anything
It's
to
an
you
easy
guys, you know what I
guess.
mean?
It's certainly
Yeah.
an easy guess. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like the powerful thing that Yuji has inside him might come out to help or whatever,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
we always say like, I'd rather it not, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
you know,
right.
It all
Sukuna just did
depends,
so
yeah.
much, you know what I mean? And Gege doesn't like to use Sukuna all that much, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we can count. Okay, let's go when they in like chapter 9 when they fought that first special grade. Yuji loses the hand, some of his fingers. Sukuna comes out, deals with it. After that, he didn't come back until Shibuya incident. You know what I mean? In between then, he kind of like attacked Mahito a little bit when he tried him. But other than that, Sukuna does not get used like that. I doubt Gege will use Sukuna again so soon after him having such a huge spotlight in Shibuya. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
especially since we've been highlighting how much Yuji has grown. Like, it'd be really weird to be like, all right, we're going to show some of the, like, the fruits of his labor have essentially amounted to nothing.
Yeah.
against
Right.
Yuta.
Yeah.
So, like, it'd be really weird to see him do that. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that Yuji is already identifying that this aura is like Gojo's, but creepier.
Yeah.
Sukuna's smart. Like, he's not the type that's gonna like fight a battle that he can't win,
Yeah.
or one that's going to cost him for whatever reason.
Right.
So like, by all means, if Yuji is already sensing this, you would know that Sukuna's already sensing
Yeah, I'm
this.
surprised that
Right.
we didn't get a reaction of Sukuna when this aura
They
procced
can only
for
fit
everybody.
so much into the chapter
It's
now.
true.
They
That's true.
can't.
That's
They
true.
can't.
That's true. I
So
know, you know.
We'll see, but like,
Right.
I don't think he's gonna make that appearance yet. I think it's more likely that we're gonna see a third party swoop in or do something that breaks up the fight before we see Sukuna coming. So
Right.
it's just a matter of who that third party is, because
Right.
again, we don't know how much time has passed. We don't know who's awakened to what abilities. We don't know where anyone is,
Right.
other than, you know, the Brocon that's out of the country completely.
Yeah.
But you know, like, anything could happen.
Yep.
But I think, like we've mentioned, I don't think Sukuna's gonna show his face, at least the outward face, right away.
Yeah.
We might
Yeah,
see
yeah.
a Yuji Sukuna internal thing,
Yes.
maybe,
If anything.
but we're not gonna see Sukuna come to the surface. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I've speculated a lot already,
Yeah.
so I'm fine with being wrong about whatever.
I
but-
like that though,
Right.
Axel. I like that idea that the next time, like, because it's been a while since Yuji and Sukuna have like talked with each other like directly in a scene like that. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure the last time was when Yuji literally died, and I don't know if that is what has to happen in order for them to communicate with each other, you know, in that way. But I think that we're. I think that that's like necessary. I think we need a scene where Yuji and Sukuna are having a conversation in that area. Like, bro,
Do not engage.
Shibuya.
Go away.
Yeah, like what's going on? Yeah. But all right.
Good shit.
Great conversation, you guys. Okay, getting into Dr. Stone, chapter 186, To Each Their Own Blade. How do we feel?
Yo, this cover.
This cover is fucking
That color face
lit.
is great.
Wow, look at Stanley. Swole.
This is the most masculine I feel like I've seen Stanley the entire series.
Yeah.
Like something about not commenting even on the obviously hugely muscled, chiseled body, right? The face here actually looks more masculine. Maybe it's the angle up.
Yeah.
But like I've always, or maybe like it's the color on the lips, where like in the manga, in the black and white, like I don't know,
feels a little bit more like lipstick.
Right, like Stanley just looks so beautiful, like the hottest girl in town or something. I don't know, like so like seeing him here, it's like okay, woo, like he's looking very very masculine here.
Yes,
they needed to distinguish his masculinity from his female double, who was in the weird like crooked like butt pose thing.
Yeah.
Last chapter.
They're like, all right, we have to make sure that Stanley looks like really tough and masculine. So let's put him next to Kinro and
let's make sure his shirt's off too, so you can
Yeah. But give him like the little chibi Xeno on the necklace just to make sure,
that's so
just
cute.
To make it known that he loves his head scientist very much.
Dude, this chapter was so high octane. I feel
so action packed.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since I've really felt action like this in Dr. Stone, even when other action is going on.
Danger.
Yeah, the sense of danger. There it is, Axel. Yeah, good shit. But yeah, man, look at this panel of all the barrels in Suika's face. I was like, oh, no, on the top of page like 5. Yeah, I was like, get those away from her. Right this instance. Best girl, man.
The big thing for me in this chapter is Francois. Francois MVP,
Francois
like
crazy.
Incredible performance here, right?
Yeah.
Negotiation skills, on the spot, like quick, good, believable lies, quick thinking, strategy with the radio, like I'm gonna call over to the homies to tell them like where we're at or whatever, and already having a lie in place to explain that away. Dexterity throwing the knife, everything she's done in this chapter is like, holy shit, dude.
What
damn.
a champion. I love her dialogue here where she talks about she's acknowledging her weaknesses in a very short amount of time, going, okay, I'm not a fighter. I have this knife. This is all I have. What can I do with what I have right now? And her thought process throughout the entirety of the decisions made in this chapter have just been mind-blowing. And it's like I've been waiting for Francois to activate. Half of me thought that she would just be relegated to the butler character that we've seen, and she'll only be there for Ryusui kind of information or whatever kind of things that we can expect her to know. But seeing this was like, oh my god, like where has this Francois been?
For real.
Oh, yeah. Our favorite androgynous butler is continuing to do work, which I still find it absolutely interesting that we still don't know Francois's gender. And it's funny that like even the two of you both use different pronouns for like discussing Francois. Like I love Francois like just in general because Francois is the butler that can do anything except for fight, which Francois acknowledges. So it's just like, all right, what can I do instead? So the fact that Francois is planning all of things, and obviously we already mentioned the knife throw, but specifically the fact that Francois threw it in a way that resonated with Matsukaze because of Matsukaze's history with reacting to things that are thrown into the air with the Medusa and whatnot. Francois is freaking amazing. Like best butler, still one of my favorite characters in general. Like I love Francois, and I feel really bad for the anime only people that probably will not be seeing Francois at the end of this season of Dr. Stone, since it's only like 11 episodes. So we're probably not even gonna see Ryusui, which is also a big shame.
Right.
But like I love Francois.
I love Francois.
Francois is just so good.
And I love how Riichiro... oh yeah, keep going.
The fact that like we're already thinking like, uh-oh, like from the last chapter that they have been noticed because Suika is such a kind-hearted girl. It was just like, I can't let this girl die.
Right.
Like you're not necessarily expecting a whole lot for like who is going to like actually be able to do anything against these guys. The fact that they also brought Ginro and Matsukaze with them rather than leaving them on the boat, which It's
They want to
probably
trade
a hostage.
Yeah, they want to trade hostages with them.
Well,
Yeah.
if even like, I don't even know necessarily that they're going to offer to trade hostages. It's more of one of those things of, we have your friends,
Yeah.
so
Right.
you're not going to do anything, or we're going to kill
Sure,
your
sure.
friends.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like,
And even if they
yeah.
didn't, even if they weren't planning a hostage trade, just having them
Yep.
there in case the situation does develop in that way
Right.
is just showing the strategic prowess from
Yes.
from the Stanley team. And this kind of goes back into our conversation about Francois, because like as I'm looking at this chapter, I'm thinking this focus on Francois really made me think about the roles of everyone else on the team. You know what I mean? And Riichiro is very clearly trying to establish this team as a tried and true shonen team where everyone has a special ability that no one else can make up for. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yep.
So when you're examining Francois, and from what I remember of Francois, what have we seen from her so far? She's basically just like the interpreter for Ryusui's macho outbursts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
is essentially what they've been up until now. But getting this spotlight on Francois shows that they're hardcore on the strategy side of things. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And when you
Yeah.
when you think of the team right now, it's like, who is their strategist? Senku. You know what I mean? But he's the scientist and he basically makes up for, until another member of the team shows up, Senku plays that role.
Sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Until because he's so versatile and well-rounded. But for seeing Francois here with this highlight makes me think like, okay, maybe this is Francois's actual role, is like dictating strategic tactical points of and decision making. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And
You
maybe
could
this
say-
is the scene that like puts her into that mode permanently after this. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah.
You could say it's planning, right?
Yeah,
Like
planning,
a
yeah.
butler plans meals, plans schedules, plans routes driving, plans, all this like banquets, that kind of stuff,
Yes.
right? So like the planning usually in a very mundane day-to-day sense, but Francois is able to apply it in a battle sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like what
wow,
do we need to do to
that's
plan shit
so
out?
cool. And that plays into, because obviously butlers have to think for themselves and
Yes.
their master, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
constantly they're overthinkers by nature, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have to, since they have to think, for so many people at once, it makes sense that I don't know what relationship Francois and Matsukaze had before this, if any. I don't think that they've ever actually really been shown chilling like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
To be
this,
fair, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, they also were like, "Hey, you're on a boat from Japan to California," like,
Yeah.
and over what was it, a month and a half had passed between
Right.
doing it, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's not out of the realm of possibilities
that they've
they were
had a
like,
conversation.
"Hey, let's have a speed meet with everybody that's on the boat."
But if they
especially
didn't, though,
considering
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they didn't have any kind of off-screen time together where they would have a conversation that would lead Francois to know that she needs to throw this knife this way, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Then this plays more into what we're talking about, hyping up Francois's tactical capabilities in regard to how well she thinks of others, and how
Mhm.
much
Yeah.
she has to think of others to the point where she can think of Matsukaze and go, okay, based on the information we know, we got him from this arc. These are the kinds of things he had to deal with. And I can just see her like just being like, okay, well, boom, and just throwing it and being like, I can see him based on what I know about him dealing with this knife throw in the appropriate way. And that
Yeah.
just does even more for her character if that's the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've got two other things to say on that point.
Yeah.
Like, I've got this little headcanon going on right now, since we had that whole chapter dedicated to everyone having fizzy drinks made for them.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing in my head like this one night where, like, at Bar Francois, where Matsukaze is just hunched over with a drink on the counter, and like Francois is like just like cleaning a glass and just like, "So tell me about yourself, stranger."
Yeah.
That's how we get like this moment where like Matsukaze and Francois get that together.
Right.
But I think it needs to be said that you have to consider that Francois is an amazing butler, and Francois needs to be an amazing butler when you consider who they're a butler for. They're a
Right.
butler for Ryusui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryusui is a man of everything.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
a man that wants what he wants. He's a man that does what he wants. and he'll do anything in his power and financial power to do it.
Yeah.
And Francois is the one, more often than not, that would have to do all of the logistical kind of things in order to make all those kinds of things work.
Right.
So the fact that above all else, Ryusui was just like the person that we need to reincarnate, or not reincarnate. Oh my, this isn't an isekai. Depetrify. I mean, it's practically an isekai at this point.
Yeah.
The person that we need to depetrify is Francois. Like, I guarantee you there are certain things that wouldn't have gone off without a hitch in the same way that we've seen if it wasn't for Francois.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot more even behind the scenes that we really don't know.
Right.
That Francois is the one that is facilitating these things and making things work. That's just how integral Francois is. But yeah, and I do love the comments of how, like, you know, like as a team, everyone has their the things that make them shine and whatnot, which has always been an Inagaki thing. Obviously, he also wrote Eye Shield 21, and obviously everyone had roles that they had to fulfill, or like things that they evolved into or whatnot. So it just makes sense that like now he would apply that in Dr. Stone, and he does it really well.
Really well
for sure
inside of Dr. Stone. And let's talk about Ginro, man, because this double spread of Ginro on 8 and 9 after Matsukaze makes the decision to free Ginro is massive. This is huge for Ginro's character, you know what I mean? And I love the paneling, the way that the paneling tells this story of this double spread is just like beautiful. And Dr. Stone has always been a manga where I have thought, okay, you have Boichi here. That's great that you have Boichi here. You have this incredible artist telling this story. But like maybe you have too much content for Boichi's art to fit inside of your limits each week. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of times where it seems like it's like, you know, just the exact same panel dimensions repeated over and over again to make sure that you get all of the character interactions and dialogue that you need for a chapter inside of a series like Dr. Stone that's very exposition heavy. It's like, where's the room for all of the art? You know what I mean? But the times where Boichi and Riichiro really get it together like this right here, and it's like, and it plays off of that criticism that I just had, where there's a lot on this, in this double spread. There's a lot of panels, there's a lot of information, a lot of moving parts to it, but it feels so fluid this time. You know what I mean?
The internal struggle of Ginro in this double spread is so beautifully executed, because you can imagine Ginro doing this, right? Like being like, I don't want to fight against people with guns. I'm a coward. But then then seeing Suika with the guns pointed at her and being like, no, like I have to do this. And also, I'm actually pretty strong, right? And when he's like, do, I'm actually pretty fucking strong. And then going into this double spread of Stanley just obliterating him with the gun, but only shooting the wood thing. I was so afraid for like 5 seconds. Like, did Ginro just get obliterated, like killed? Like super killed?
Again.
I was so worried for a moment as well. And then I really focused on the double spread, and I was like, okay, no, Stanley just destroyed his like bow staff situation or whatever. You know, and then we get this amazing analysis from Francois again about how, wait a minute, they're soldiers, not murderers. And it's like, wait, because Riichiro definitely established that they are soldiers first. You know what I mean? Like, we've gotten this dialogue over the course of the last couple chapters. They keep saying Stanley's a soldier. These people are soldiers. You know what I mean? But it doesn't make us think like Francois, because we've seen Stanley in such ruthless moments that kind of contradict this way of thinking until it's fully fleshed out, and you get all of Francois's points of, wait a minute, boom, 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 boom. No, this is actually they're following the protocol of war. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I would even say that, like, very, very good thinking, I guess, quick thinking from Francois here. I would say this is like a very risky gamble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I think there's a lot of soldiers alive, like right now in present day, you know, United States, for example, that like wouldn't give two fucks about these people. You know what I mean? Like in these circumstances, when it's like thousands of years after society's crumbled, and like you're like literally trying to like do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety of humanity or whatever, like from your perspective, it seems like a risky gamble to bank on soldiers obeying rules of war from countries that have been gone for thousands of years, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I think this is actually a very interesting storytelling device because this will let the soldiers integrate into the kingdom of science, right? You can't have people that are cold-blooded killers will have no reason. They're just going to kill whoever it takes to get Zeno in charge, right? Like, if Zeno told them to stand down, they would stand down. And if Zeno and Senku teamed up and like made a joint kingdom of science to like go to the moon or whatever, they would be completely order bound to be good, right?
Like, so then, and it's
boom.
not weird. It doesn't seem out of character
because of this chapter.
Yeah, it doesn't seem out of character that suddenly all these cold-blooded killers are just like on the team of science. But when you add the stipulation that they're literally just following orders and that's that, then that makes it feel better. You know what I mean? And I think that this scene with Francois saying, you know, they're soldiers, I don't think it's, you know, they're soldiers and the fact that they're soldiers, we're going to bank this risk on that. It's the fact that they're these kind of soldiers based on the history of examples of them showing that they're these kind of soldiers. You know what I mean? They're the kind of soldiers that won't blow our brains out arbitrarily. You know what I mean?
Otherwise they already would have and so on. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, for sure. But Axel, how do you feel about this last scene with Francois?
We jumped on this. There were so many points, so we just had them. Sorry. Okay, so I gotta.
Go back to wherever.
Gotta go point to point here. So, I love Ginro's character growth.
Sure.
Because Ginro's character growth isn't just some, you know, just constant thing. Like it's very like staggered. Like, and there are moments where there are peaks and valleys. Just like the GameStop stock. But you know,
GME.
Yeah. But like, it's one of those things where he always has those moments where like he's able to overcome certain things. And I think one of those things that we need to remember is the fact that like Ginro already almost died.
Right.
When they were on Treasure Island, he was about to die.
Yes.
If it wasn't for the fact that what's her face? Why am I blanking on
Kohaku?
her name? Yes, Kohaku thought in the moment, like, oh, we'll petrify ourselves and then we'll get depetrified later and we'll be healed. So, like, he already had that moment where he was going to die. Like, he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to feel those things again. But the last person that he wants to feel that in this moment is Suika. And so in that moment, he's able to overcome these things. He's quickly defeated.
Right.
It's just like, oh no, guns. So,
we still got that great character moment for him, you know?
Yes, and that's what's important.
I think what slaps so hard with Ginro's character because obviously his archetype is very Zenitsu, Usopp, you know, familiar in that regard of kind of being the timid, shy, coward kind of character. When it matters in these kind of situations. But like, I think what's cool about Ginro as opposed to like an Usopp, when we first were introduced to him, like we kind of got that shitty coward liar vibe like right away, even before he kind of like started lying. Whereas like with Ginro, he was introduced as a fighter. You know what I mean? He's introduced right next to Kinro in a very confident stance, and they look like the bodyguards of the area. Like you probably don't want to fuck with them unless you come correct. You know what I mean? We then find out later that they're not as much of fighters as they were originally, you know, shown as, but we still got him in a very confident light first. So then once we get more development of his character and find out he's a wuss, then all of a sudden these moments that pop up where he wants to run away, you know, while his friends, you know, get sacrificed themselves and things like that. All of those internal moments where he says, yeah, I'll just abandon my friends, or I don't want to fight. I'm going to run and I'm going to do that. We expect that because we know he's the coward character. But when he kind of like snaps out of it and comes back into his own and does the thing, I feel like that moment is a lot more hype because we have that initial characterization to reference back to. With Usopp, you have to write it a little bit more carefully, because if Usopp is a coward the whole time and all of a sudden just says fuck it, I'm not scared anymore, then I feel like you can't as successfully just do that, because Usopp has always been known as a coward, introduced all throughout his initial characterization, all throughout his development, inside of his progression that we've seen. Cowardice is still very much there first. You know what I mean? But with Ginro, it feels a little bit more secondary, so that when he does get back into these confident moments, it makes sense while also being hype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now on the subject of the soldiers, so that's another thing where there are a lot of bits and pieces. with that. Obviously, at the beginning of this chapter, when they find them, they say freeze, which is interesting because that is part of the plot where it's just like with Ginro and Suika and Matsukaze, they don't know what freeze means.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's an English term. Like, they don't realize that means halt, and Francois is just like, they don't realize what's going on.
Right.
So, like, right off the bat, they're not going in guns ablaze like they're going to shoot everybody, which has always kind of been a thing. That's never really been a thing where they're just jumping in to like kill people. You
Right.
could
Yeah.
argue that a little bit when Stanley first encountered them with the plane, like a little bit. But
Yeah.
even then, after that, the only person that they were ever truly targeting to kill was Senku.
Right.
There was never that order to kill other people.
Yeah. Even when when Stanley shot Shishio and the other dude, he only aimed for their shoulders.
Shoulder.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was never like a shot to kill kind of thing. Which in that regard, they also had Zeno as a hostage. So it's just like, well, if you kill them, what's to prevent us from killing them? That kind of thing. But there's been a lot of stuff that's already been established where like the fact that like they're finally seeing people for the first time that aren't from, like, let alone the fact that they're not from America, there's a lot of value in keeping them alive. Like just killing these people, like by all means kill Senku, because like he seems to be in control, so if you kill him, everyone will kind of like fall in line.
Yeah.
But like don't kill the other civilians. One, because they're military and really the top of the military, but two, because again, they are other people. They are a resource that you don't want to kill. At that point too, they didn't know that there was a revival formula to like get other people going. Another thing to mention too is the fact that there is already that working relationship to create Corn City. The fact that we do have, you know, some of Stanley's military people and some of Senku's group working together, although also working apart to get, you know, the leg up on each other. Fact of the matter is they're all being kept alive. Again, because they're a valuable resource. They've got that pact that they're going with. Like, at the end of the day, they're not going to kill people. Like, and even then, like, when Ginro got out the spear, they expertly used the guns to disarm him rather than actually injure him. Like, it's part of the thing that like they're trained, like they are trained really, really well. But like even then, like in terms of like modern soldier standards today, that is a big thing where it's just like it's one of those things where you have to have restraint first. They're not just going in guns ablaze unless it is the specific mission to go in guns ablaze and take people down. So
yeah, I love your Corn City point, like that the teams already kind of work together already, and we've established that there is a lot of rule following on Zeno's side, so they're not going to be so chaotic and like murderous. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Zeno may be evil-ish, but they're not killing people that aren't a threat, especially if they can prove to hold value in the long run. And like that's even now they were kind of left to their own device. Well, somewhat left to their own devices, where they were allowed to revive our watchmaker and his boss in order to, you know, analyze the Medusa. So like again, they're, despite the fact that like they're both working against each other, they're also working together at the same time. So there's that interesting dichotomy going. The only one at this point that they need to kill is Senku. That's the only one. Anyone else at this point, if they're I'm a civilian, they're not going to be targeted because they don't need to be, unless they are going in to kill them themselves, which none of them have been at this point. Everybody at this point has been, you know, offensive, but not going in for the kill. Which is impressive considering how many people we have now on Team Senku that are killers. So it's just going like, So that restraint has been interesting so far, and it's something that we're going to continue to see on both sides, unless someone goes in for the kill. But I don't necessarily see that happening at this point.
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
But like, just given what we've been seeing and how no one really necessarily dies for the most part, like I don't see anybody getting killed right now.
Yeah,
so.
me neither. I don't think
For
anybody
sure.
will die the rest of this story. You know what I mean? Because it's
I
like,
wouldn't count that.
'cause I mean,
think we'll
'cause
still see some people die.
Senku
because-
wants to save everybody. He says
Right.
every single person is getting saved. So sure, that obviously means that you want to revive everybody, and people who die in combat probably aren't, included in that. But for some reason, my outlook on this is just like, that is the truth of the series. You know what I mean? Like Senku saying no one dies is how it's going to end. You know what I mean?
But that would make the weight of a death that much more impactful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
fact that you
One
couldn't
death, sure.
save
Yeah.
the one person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
saying it will.
Right.
Who would that
right.
person be?
saying, like-
Who would that person be though? Because I mean, if you look at like the people who are
Taiju
already,
or Chrome.
yeah,
I don't think
Or-
Taiju would die.
Yeah. I can't see any of these characters dying for like any real reason. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Other than to have a death before the end of the series. I mean, obviously Riichiro will just write that circumstance and it'll make more sense once we get there.
Yeah.
But as of
exactly.
right now, I cannot see anyone dying for any reason. Like, this is probably the biggest threat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We never know about Y-Man and the Moon, but like, I don't know. I would want to assume that this is probably the most dire, opponent that they've had or that they will have that's trying this hard to kill them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Mhm.
when else will someone die is my question, I guess. But
Very
Yeah.
true.
yeah. But you never know. But I think that's all I had on Dr. Stone though.
Yeah. Same.
Are we good on Dr. Stone?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Great combo, you guys. All right, Mashle. Magic and Muscles, Chapter 51, Mashburn Dead, and the Shattered Crystal. How do we feel?
Pretty funny chapter.
This was
Great.
such a funny
So
chapter.
good.
Funnier than I feel like I feel like I laughed more at this chapter than I usually do at Mashle. And
I
it's
burst out loud at the coma comments.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard.
yeah, and I think it's so funny how like coming out of the last chapter at the very end on that last page, you have Mash looking very high detail, very
Right.
badass. Like,
Yeah.
I ain't never met nobody stronger than me.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, Mash, okay? And then I start this chapter, and it's like potato face Mash.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
never
yeah.
met anyone stronger than me. And it's like, ah, damn it.
It becomes a philosophical thing, but it's like, but what is strength?
What
Yeah.
is
I mean, I'm
strength?
physically strong, but what about other strength? It's peak Mashle.
Yeah.
The fact that
I-
like we go from that to like, immediately just picking off like in a like just stereotypical Mash way is just
Yeah.
like
I really hope that like this question Mash is asking himself about like what is strength, I really hope that he puts this question on the back burner and eventually like finds an answer that unlocks like a new potential within himself. You know what I mean? Like,
shit.
this is strength. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just to tie a joke like into like a main like plot thread would be so sick.
Oh my god. And Mashal will be the one to do it like that.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
I would not put that past Mashal at all.
but
The,
what if
hmm
the idea of strength only comes from Finn actually pulling things off against Carpaccio, and he's like,
Yo.
that's strength.
Yo!
Yo.
Ooh,
Yo, I
that would feel
love
so
that.
good. That would
And-
feel so good.
And we've talked before, on the show about like the possibility that Mash like legitimately has muscle related abilities or strength related abilities, and not necessarily muscle magic. I think we may have brought that possibility up once before, but I mean
Mhm.
like more on the realistic side of things, like because he says like hamstring magic,
Mhm,
fucking
Deltoid magic.
yeah,
tricep
magic.
Yeah, he says shit like that, and we know that in the moment it's a joke, and he's just saying that because he's like kind of like playing into the system of, everyone
Yeah.
says what kind of magic they have or whatever, so he's just playing into that joke. But we talked about the possibility that there could actually be something more there, you know what I mean? And if there is actually something more there in regard to Mash, which I personally don't necessarily think I subscribe too much to, but for the sake of argument, if it is like strength magic, you know what I mean? Obviously, we can assume that is kind of isolated to the body. But I mean, like, if it does get, like, if we're thinking, like, endgame EOS MASH and strength magic, and it is, like, strength magic is a thing suddenly in the series, and, like, we think it's all muscle-related, but it's actually just, like, all kinds of strength. You know what I mean? It could play back into this line of dialogue eventually.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
a situation like that. But, anyway, moving into the real reality of the chapter. I like this new test.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
This is cool as fuck. And the last one, you know, like kind of like was like a race scavenger hunt kind of situation. This one seems more like a battle. And we can, and I'm assuming that there's once, you know, the people who lose this heat, you know, are eliminated, and then we have like 4 left. It'll go into a tried and true like tournament kind of situation, like 1v1s.
Probably be down to 6. I think it's gonna be
6.
whichever one team gets eliminated first.
Yep.
That's the one that's out. So yeah.
Well, if it's only one,
gonna...
if only 3 go away, and then we still have 6, then there could still be. Did they say how many exams there would be? Do we remember that? I don't think I remember.
I thought
that.
3, but now I don't really. I'm not very confident on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if they just lose one team here and 3 people are gone, then there could be another exam before. But I'm really thinking that this is going to end with 1v1 fighting. You know what I mean?
You would think so. I mean, like, I definitely want 1v1s to happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's kind of built. It wouldn't be a tournament arc if there wasn't 1v1 fighting.
Right. Exactly.
Point, yeah.
What tournament arc doesn't have 1v1 fighting?
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, so these crystals, they're super fragile, and you have to protect them. And when all of your crystals are gone, then you lose. And this is where I busted out laughing, bro.
This for sure. And like, I don't know about you, Knox, but like, I was reading on a phone, right? I usually read on a phone, and not like on a web browser where you see the double page at all times, right?
Yeah.
So like on the phone, you get like the page with Mash dropping the crystal, and then you swipe, and then you get the page with Dot dropping the crystal. And I thought that was really like super great execution, but like seeing the double where you see them both, I'm like, I don't know if I would have laughed so hard if I didn't turn the page and see Dot also dropping the crystal.
Yeah, the page turn is what makes that hit so hard. And I read it on PC, but I have it set to where it's 1 page at a time on Viz until I want it to be a double spread. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it on 1 page, and then when it's a double spread, I'll switch it real quick so I can see the whole thing. And then I'll go back because I need the page turn, man. Like that's like that's my whole thing. Yeah.
Vertical phone reading supremacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But oh my god.
Can't believe they dropped it. This is so gay.
Oh
my god.
It's you know it was gonna happen. You knew at least Mash was gonna do it. But the fact that Dot did it too, so I didn't realize it would be that slippery. It's just Mash and Dot just
I didn't think about it. I didn't think either of them would drop. I was surprised by both drops. You know what I mean? But then once the joke was done, I was like, well, yeah. You know what I mean? It was very obvious after the fact, but I was very surprised by this turn of events.
I want to believe, this is my personal headcanon, that like Dot interrupted the announcer, right? Like, oh, this description's so boring. Like, I want to believe that like the announcer was about to say, also the gems are like slippery like ice. You know what I mean? You know, like you're not gonna be able to hold on to them very easily. And if he just waited, he would have been told that, because he says like, they should warn you about how slippery these are.
Yeah, that one panel where it was like, well, I was going to tell you, but it, like,
that would have been amazing.
Would have just wow. The funny factor would have skyrocketed in this chapter.
Hey, lady, my buddy's in a coma because you're explaining things too hard. Make it simple. Like, don't smash crystal. Don't smash crystal. And like, it's interesting. Like, I think what's great about it, the fact that both Mash and Dot broke their crystals. Mash specifically, though, the fact that in that first challenge, his strength was obviously his biggest asset. But now with the second challenge, his strength was his biggest detriment right out of the gate. Like,
because he probably just held it and just squeezed it too hard and just crushed it on accident.
Compared to Dot, it was just like,
oh no, he said he dropped
it. Yeah, I know. Like, it was it's slippery. So I think that was great. This challenge as a whole is just freaking funny, because obviously like right after the whole crystal thing like gets finished, they're like, all right, as long as we stick together, we're fine. And then they get transported in, and they're all separated.
Oh my god, yes.
And then Finn is just like, why is this a team challenge?
He's so angry.
We're all separated.
Yeah, he's so
Bugger
pissed.
all.
Yeah. God,
I feel his pain, because like I would also question that, like, why did you put us on teams if you're just gonna make us go in random places?
Right,
so
especially after you just watched your 2 friends drop their crystals and you were hoping that you could just be protected by them and be fine, which is what they literally just said. Don't worry, bro, we'll protect you. Whoosh, you're all on opposite sides of the arena now, and it's like, oh my god. I love how they all have different colored outfits for this. That's one thing that I thought was like really cool. Also this Carpaccio guy. So like, I think that this character is very interesting. I don't know why I want to believe that now that we see that he kind of has a stand You know what I
She's
mean?
not the first one.
Yeah.
Considering our puppet
Abel.
guy,
Yeah.
yes, he more or less had a stand too. So it's kind of interesting that like some of these stronger magic users have kind of like a stand. Like
the headmaster too, right?
Right.
That like kind of like winch, press vice or whatever you call it, like doll thingy.
But see, I had this idea, you know, for Abel that like Abel was like a puppet, and that like you know, and that like the baby doll or whatever that he carries was like actually Abel. You know what I mean? And this character seems very his expression, you know, seems very blank. You know what I mean? Like he's not really feeling too many things. You know what I mean? And obviously we have this stand here. His eyes look very vacant. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I want to bring back the Abel theory and say that this dude is controlled by this thing, but obviously it's just like magic. So it's like, you don't want to say that, but like at the same time, it's like, I don't know. But like this dude is so confusing to me because like the first time we saw him, he used magic that like sliced that dude's forehead last chapter. You know what I mean? And then now we see him here and he has a knife in his arm. And then I don't know what he did with the knife, but all of a sudden the other dude was like bleeding or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it
seems like it's like damage redirection or something.
Yeah, either damage redirection or I have no idea, but I want to say that this like stand is responsible, you know what I mean, for what's going on, and maybe that's obvious, but it's so hard for me to think about what this dude's deal is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And whenever I just see like blank expression characters that whose emotions literally never change, and then you find out they have a giant like Abel, you know what I mean? Like I just want to assume that these guys are like this is just what we're seeing, you know what I mean? And that it's more than that, but I don't know. I don't know how to make that make sense. But
keep in mind there are 3 levels of spells.
Right.
So it's probably that we've been seeing only 1st level spells so far, and that his stand magic thing is a seconda spell.
Yeah.
So I'm interested by its design. The fact that it's an angel nurse with syringes sticking out of the head. It was not what I was expecting to see out of this guy.
That's probably where that damage came from last week, is like a scalpel or something from this nurse.
Yeah.
It's very
I can
possible.
see that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like how that plays into his personality, since like obviously we haven't really seen much of a personality so far, but for almost everybody so far, their magic still plays into their personality. So what is it about this angel nurse and the syringes sticking out of her head? How does that tie into him? How does that tie into his backstory? Like, is he, and this is just theorizing here, like maybe he comes from a line of magical users, but like he's a douchebag. So like he still has like medical based like magic, but he's using it offensively rather than in terms of like a medical sense.
Okay, I have one. I have to piggyback off of that. So we've talked several times about what does this line on Carpaccio's face mean, right? And it's kind of like a spiral, like a staff or something. What if it's bandages?
Ooh.
Right? A rolled up bandage. Behind him, the angel, on her arms are bandages.
Yeah, like gauze.
Like gauze. So what if it is like medic magic, first aid magic, I don't know, something like you know, bandage magic maybe, but then he can use it like for paper cuts or something, or like I can use it to heal you, but I can also use the scalpel to cut you, kind of thing, right? Like
or maybe just like because I'm fucking with this idea that the spiral represents like a rolled up thing of gauze. I like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So and obviously that links with this nurse Stan having gauze bandages being unraveled from her forearms. You know what I mean? So maybe the bandage spiral, if assuming that that's what that is just indicative of medical or you know medical magic in general, and it's not a specific application of this magic, but more of a general application of this magic, to the point where you can be slashed by a scalpel, you can also be healed by a bandage, you can also be, you know, like whatever other medical like things. It's just all encompassing inside of this dude's ability.
I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
I'm
wild.
trying to.
Very mysterious though, because like
Yeah.
what about page 14-15 where Carpaccio's fighting Pawn Taurus from also from Orchidorm, and like has this knife stuck in his arm. He seems to grab the knife, and as he grabs the knife, Pawn Taurus gets damaged. Like
Right.
what is happening here,
I
right?
have
Like
no
it's very
idea.
mysterious. Yeah.
And I know that the explanation, once we get it, is going to be like, oh, but then it's like, why
Right,
is it
right.
not obvious right now? God, I love and hate when mangaka are able to do this. Like, seriously.
You
'cause
just
it's like,
love it.
I love it. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love and hate it. You know, I love it because obviously I love being uncertain, and I love when mangaka blow my mind when I'm expecting something different. But also I hate
Right.
it because it's like, there is an obvious answer here, and I'm not finding it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not an obvious answer, and this is like the most elaborate ability that we've seen, and there's no way that we could have made sense of it before it was explained to us. You know what I mean? But
I feel like we're on the right track, honestly.
yeah, me too.
I feel like we're
in
close.
terms of the not obvious, like he is a second liner,
Mhm.
but the
Yep.
second line is above the one eye going into his hairline.
Yep.
So while it could be, just a basic line, because there are some people that do just have like one like interesting line and then like a basic one.
Mhm.
Yep.
It is also possible that there could be something more going on that's being hidden by his hair. So
Yeah,
Right.
or he
I
could
do
be a
like the
third. He could be a
bandage.
triple liner that's hiding it, like
Yep.
like Lance or whatever.
maybe
Yeah.
I don't know that they're gonna pull out another triple liner though.
Right.
Just given like if they make him a triple liner, that just kind of that underwhelms Sword Boy.
Yeah,
Well,
like
we'll have to
the-
see another one, and if we're gonna see another one, it makes
Yes.
sense that we would see it in the Divine Visionary tryouts.
But I think it's gonna be the head of the Orca Dorm.
Oh,
if
sure.
anybody is gonna somehow
yeah,
pull out a triple line,
Mhm.
Sure.
it'd be him. Not
Margaret,
that he's
yeah.
necessarily achieved it so far,
Mhm.
but if he's pushed to a certain level, maybe he'll get to that point. But like,
Sure.
I don't think Carpaccio is gonna pull out a triple line.
Yeah.
Like this in the second challenge, like
Yeah.
especially considering he's fighting Finn right now.
But Finn has
like,
yet to
that would-
activate. Finn could really go crazy
Yes.
right now and bring it out of this man. But Mash is also running there, so this could just be
Maybe
another
Finn
situation
is the
where-
triple liner we're waiting for. Hey,
Woo,
I want to see
boy.
Finn activate. Damn it!
Yes,
I want to
so do
see
I.
Finn use magic.
So do I, dude.
Please, like
Ah,
it's gonna happen.
I would say
Yeah,
it's
this
definitely
one-
happening this fight if Mash wasn't like literally running there. Because
Yeah,
now
he just
this
needs
makes
to-
me think that he's just going to save him and Finn's not going to
Yeah.
activate yet. You know what I mean?
He just needs to stop being a wall first. He's
Yeah.
a wall right now. He needs to become. He needs to use magic again. He needs to stop being a wall. And
Yeah.
the fact that he like without breaking, he was able to be like Carpaccio. He's just like can't talk. I'm a wall.
Yeah.
It's just like it's hilarious. Oh
I am
man.
a
he looks
wall.
so pained, like he's just like giving up on life. Like
Yeah.
I can't talk. I'm a wall.
Yeah, it's like, you're the guy
Leave me
that wants to kill
alone.
me, but like, can't you see, man? Like, I'm supposed to be a wall. Damn it. Like, he's already come
Yeah.
to terms with his fate, but he's still just like saying things.
Oh,
Yo,
man.
yeah, hell yeah.
Because so just so I'm clear though, we really have not seen him use any kind of magic up to this point
At
right?
all.
There's
Well, I mean,
never
I think
been-
he's flown on a broom, for example,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
Like,
Right.
I
We
I
haven't
think we
seen,
know
like,
he's a
we
magic
haven't seen
user.
his affinity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Which I'm interested to see what he's got in comparison to his brother.
For
Like,
sure,
Is it
for sure.
going to be something relatable? Is it going to be something that's an inverse thing?
Mhm.
What again? Because I've been speculating all video long, so
Yeah.
why stop now?
Right.
What if he's got shield magic
Mm.
compared to his brother
Oh.
that uses sword magic? So like
Whoa,
he's always been more
that's-
defensive.
So when he says
Yes.
I'm a wall, he's like leaning
Yes.
into his defensive type magic personality, right? Like
This
I'm a wall. What if
is-
it's wall
yo.
type magic, right? Like wall shield, very simply, like ooh, okay, okay.
This could be foreshadowing for that, dude. I love that because we've been talking about what Finn's magic can be in all kinds of shit. Like we've been talking about lightning because his eyes are, white, and doesn't have any, there's no pupils, there's no detail in his eyes, you know what I mean? So like we attributed that to like potentially lightning magic because of like people like Raiden, and
Yeah,
Thor and shit
or
like that.
Zenitsu.
Yeah, or Zenitsu, you know what I mean? And then we were talking about, well, no, I mean, let's keep this in the family and think about like what
Mhm.
kind of, magic you could have in, similar to Rain, you know what I mean? But this idea that he has shield magic when Rain has sword magic is the best that this I
love that. I do love
the
that.
best I've felt about Finn's abilities the entire time.
I don't feel like he would be
Yeah.
crying on the last page if he did have a defensive ability he was confident in.
Sure.
But I would love it. I would absolutely adore it if he's like, I can't talk, I'm a wall. Next page, we have, Carpaccio taking out his stand. Next chapter, we have Carpaccio attack him, and it just bounces off. Ting! Because he has a shield magic or something. Like, body on me. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, that would feel so good.
Yo, man.
I mean, that's at least what I'm thinking. Like, just based on the fact that, like, he's just has no confidence in himself whatsoever. It would make sense that as it is, he's constantly hiding behind shields in real life, like figurative ones rather than literal ones.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
wow.
like, it would make sense that like that would manifest as like an actual magic ability of shielding, but like maybe it just hasn't been on that level where like he's confident in it. Like he's more so been running away, so he doesn't want to test how strong his shields actually are. So
or maybe he knows how strong his shields are, and he's just that kind of person that just thinks he can't be good.
Right.
You know what I mean? And thinks that everyone has to be stronger than him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But this is the first instance that we're seeing of magic in the family. Like, other than Gravity Boy, whose sister doesn't really have magic, like, this is going to be the first instance that we're actually seeing of, like, people in the same family and what their magic is like. It's very possible that, like, it won't be anything in related, like, whatsoever. But, like, I just feel like, just based on the relationship that they have as brothers, that would be the perfect symbolism to have sword magic and shield magic. So
especially when one is clearly a more offensive character, and the other one is clearly a more timid, reserved character. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I think you have a 5-star theory on your hand here, bro. Like I love.
I'm gonna be so sad when I'm wrong.
No, dude, I honestly can't see it happening like any other way. Like, I'm so on board with this right now. Like, I feel like it has to be that, or it doesn't make sense.
We've never seen Order Madel use his magic yet. I don't think the desert visionary or whatever. And obviously his younger brother Worth Madel or whatever. Like there's the desert visionary, and then there's the his younger brother who has mud magic. So like you'd assume sand, mud. So like, but sand and mud, like earth-ish, you know what I mean? Like, so like, just because they're earth-ish, there's a family connection there. But I think you could have a weapon connection with Rain and Finn. But sword and shield, you know what I mean? Like we don't know, as you say, Axel, we don't know the extent or the limitations of family heredity magic yet in Mashle. So like we don't know if it's like, is it weapons or like equipment? Is that a category that we're allowed to have here? So to allow Finn to have shield or wall type magic, or is it like metal, and so it has to be? Is it? I mean, swords and shields both can be metal, right? So there's so many ways that like that shield magic could be a real thing here for sure.
And if you think about it, like Black Clover. You have the
I was gonna say,
you have the Silva family, you know what I mean? And you have Noelle who uses water, Nozel uses fucking what is it? Mercury? Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like,
two water users, Mercury, Mist. Their mother was a Mercury user herself. The Vermilions, depending on which branch of the Vermilions you are, you've got your fire side, you've got your plant and nature side. Like the familial and Finral and his brother with the spatial magic. It's something that like these families have that going for them. So
it's all about how much the author wants to find links between the movies, right? Because like water, like you would never go Mercury, like you would never think Mercury after seeing water. Like if you had the entire
It's like liquid.
Yeah, if you had the entire
Yeah.
situation of, Black Clover given to you, and then Noelle and Nozel were just like not characters involved, and you have all of this information, and all of a sudden you see Nozel, and you think, okay, well, what would her brother have? You wouldn't go Mercury.
You would never say Mercury.
You would literally never say
never.
Mercury. But like the author can, link those things whatever way they want, and it's all about how they decide to do that. So I think Sword and Shield is a close enough relationship to where if this was like a munitions or an arms based magic that
even
they
metal.
can, or just metal. Yeah.
Or again, another just crack shot theory, because why not? What if his magic is one that like it's like a super powerful weapon or whatnot, but he's just too timid
to use it.
If he's got like
gun magic,
a big axe or something, and he's just like too timid to actually like swing the axe or something. Like I'm more so in the shield camp.
Sure, sure.
That's just what I'm
thinking.
But,
if
like,
Finn's got pistol magic, G.
Gun.
Yeah.
But I like even outside of like anime and manga, like making the Harry Potter connection, since obviously there's the big Harry Potter, vibe, considering the fact that every chapter of MASH is Harry Potter structured.
Yes.
MASH, Burn Dead, and the
Blank.
Just like Harry Potter. Even in Harry Potter, different like family-based traits and whatnot were linked. The fact that like Harry and his dad both had the stag Patronus,
right.
Familial things are strong. So like I feel like we're gonna see that. It'd be really weird, especially since you had mentioned with like the desert user and like the mud user, since they're a family. It'd be weird to buck that trend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will. For sure.
Good shit.
Are we good on Mashle?
I think so.
Awesome. All right. Black Clover, chapter 283, a huge melee.
Right from the get-go, we get answers to literally the two major questions I think you had last chapter, Nox. Like, so one, like, are they just going to go straight to the Spade Kingdom, and like how are they going to get there? Like isn't it far away? And like, but he just uses transformation. Like he only has 5 minutes. Isn't this bullshit? Like, but it's like, oh no, actually, like he can't even maintain it for 5 minutes. It's so new, right? He's not like perfected it yet, and like. Yep, he literally comments like, "Oh, but we have no way to get to Spade Kingdom. It would take forever." Like, I just like love that it's like immediate like answers.
And then we see him falling, and then spatial magic, and you're like, "Oh!" And then Squadron shows up, and you're like, "Okay, this is how you're going to get around." And this feels really fucking good. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I don't know why I didn't think like, "Oh yeah, gang's gonna show up, and they're gonna have Finral there. That's how they're gonna get to the Spade Kingdom." Like, obviously they're on the way, like I don't know why I didn't.
I think we were just so expecting to see Asta like, use his key, flare up and fly over there, right? That's what I was thinking was going to happen. He was just going to fly really quickly to Spade Kingdom in 10 seconds because he's so badass now, right? But I like this better.
I guess I wasn't personally expecting Finral and the group of legs. Since that's how they're presented first. Because you know it's Finral just based on the shape of the spatial magic. But
and then you just get high heels and thin ankles.
Mostly high heels. Like I wasn't expecting them to go from the elf community back to the Clover Kingdom, then to the Spade Kingdom. Like I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more so like we would just see them appearing in the Spade Kingdom, not picking Asta up. But like, hey, plot device. I won't argue with it.
I feel like it kind of makes sense though that they would come to Clover first to kind of just like make sure that home is cool.
Touch base.
You know what I mean? Like make sure that like your crib is fine. You know what I mean? And then obviously they had good reason to check here because there's demons everywhere. But then, just for a good measure, probably stop home before we go to the bad guys. I could see that being, but other than that,
I definitely think it's fine to explain it that way, right? Like as you say, it's a plot device, and it feels good. I think it would be what's the opposite situation that they could have run into, right? Like they teleport using Finral's magic to Clover Kingdom, they're wasting time. Literally nothing is going wrong. And they're just like, oh, well, that was stupid. I mean, yeah, the world is literally ending right now, I guess. Yeah, let's go over to Spade Kingdom, right? But like, luckily for them, Clover Kingdom is being attacked. So it's like, okay, this did make sense to go to Clover Kingdom. So it's fine. It's like, it's whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so have we ever seen this guy? This is the one question I have this chapter. Have we ever seen this guy, Makusa, before this chapter? The snow magic.
Yes,
dude?
we did.
We did see him. Do you remember when we saw him?
He was already working with Sally, Valtos, and Radies before. Because everyone was just like, hey, those guys were bad guys. Why are they here fighting with us now? And it's just like, hi, I'm Makusa, and these guys are okay because I'm working with them. So Daijobu.
Okay.
And just like, so like, yes, he was there. Like, he was already part of the group. I don't think we were introduced to his snowman magic until like this moment. But yes, he was part of the group. I was just kind of surprised that they were like, let's stick Seke with them. We don't have a place to put Seke. So he was there.
I love his magic.
I love his magic.
Like this, like dancing snowman magic. It's so cute. Like, dancing snowman, safety. Can't see me because the dancing. I don't know.
Demons are coming. But come and be embraced by the snowman.
Yeah.
I see the snowman like drawings, and it just like reminds me of like Peter Rabbit, like mornings, like in winter. You know what I mean? Leading up to Christmas, like watching all of those shows. You know what I mean? With your family and whatnot. It was a very warm feeling when I turned the page to see this. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I don't know if it's this chapter, if it's just the characters involved, I don't know, but these black suits are slapping, bro. Like Fuego Leon on page 8 looks beautiful. Everybody, Valtos, everybody wearing these black outfits just looks amazing in this chapter. And I guess I never really like took time to appreciate these black fits, until this chapter.
They're way better than when they went to go take on
the elves,
Patron and them. It is so much better. Well, before they were elves, technically.
Yeah. Like, I'm not usually a fan of when an author just like gives every single person on the good guys' side the exact same outfit. I think it's kind of lazy, but I will agree that they look very clean. Like this is actually a very good design, clean, crisp, simple. But like at the same time recognizable. Like it's not that bad for a shared character design.
It works well with Tabitha's contrast too, I think. Yeah. Keep going.
They're also in a wintry region. So it makes sense that they need, lined clothing instead of, Asta, who's just rocking the midriff open chest things. It's just like, we need to put clothes on that boy. And the other people that are normally scantily clad. Like,
no, that's a great point.
That is a good point. Wow, I like that. I love Fuego Leon's performance in this chapter. I love whenever he's on the screen. I think that his spirit is getting bigger every time we see him, which is really fucking cool. Also, I just think that its design is amazing next to Fuego Leon whenever they're in the scene together, because Fuego Leon is obviously very high contrast, stark black, and then you have this very unique illustration style inside of this spirit, and maybe just spirits in general. I feel like is when you see this this blotched brush, this like this very light gray brush shading on the dragon. You know what I mean?
I think the only other place you see it is Mario Leona. When she's in her kind of like full flame form, like it's this kind of very, very, very light, as you say, like light brush touch, where it's like a white-ish, it's not gray, but it's like white and grayish, you know what I mean? Like I
just think that the art pops with Fuego Leon next to this dragon because of the contrast and the shading and whatnot. And
I love his teamwork with it. He summons it out. He's on page 8, on page 9, he's like riding on its back. On page 10, like he's shooting one way, Kamehameha wave, dragon breath another way, like
double dragon.
Like good teamwork.
And I love you can tell in that 6 months he trained to make sure that synchronization between them is what it is. Like, the fact that he was able to capitalize on that a lot faster than was just goes to show that Fuegoleon's caliber is top class. And that's why he's my favorite captain. Don't get me wrong, I love Yami. Fuegoleon is my man.
His scenes are always so epic, and I think that's because of how little he's used. You know what I mean? And just like this panel on the bottom of page 10 of him back to back with his dragon shooting the flames, I think that everything about this panel is perfect. I think that every decision made here to have the background be a very lightish gray, you know what I mean, while you have these very light colors inside of the dragon and its energy, and Fuego Leon obviously is there as a good point of contrast with all the white coming from him, and it's just a very aesthetically pleasing in every square, you know, pixel of this panel is just beautiful, you know what I mean?
If there's one thing that Tabata knows how to do, it's to make aesthetically pleasing drawings.
Yes.
As much as people want to complain about Chonky Asta, like he draws people really good.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Wow. Do these demons, the demon designs in this chapter, I feel like these are a lot of the same demons that we've seen in other spreads. A couple of them have been repeated, but I feel like we are still seeing new ones here, like this like werewolf one at the bottom of page 7. I don't think we've seen that one yet. That one really had me like, okay, is this like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Street Sharks? Like, I love this aesthetic. I'm fucking with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then this last one, I think the last one we see before we get the double spread of like a whole gang of demons on page 11, top left of page 11. Their numbers just keep growing. Beautiful. The layering of the detail as it goes farther back, you know, into the depth of the panel is just like 5-star.
Yeah, no, it's good shit. Good shit.
Yeah,
it's definitely no complaints on the art.
Yeah,
right. It's interesting that because supposedly these are all like lower ranked demons. The fact that so far, other than obviously Lieb, who's kind of an exception to this rule, like anyone that's more of a high-class demon has always been more humanoid. Yet all of these lower-ranked demons are, like you would assume, just monstrous demons.
Yes.
It's interesting to see that that difference between the two. And then obviously the only other difference being that like the huge demons that were former humans, they're retaining some humanoid form because they were formerly human. Which it just kind of makes that more interesting then, just kind of questioning, all right, what actually is the origin of these demons? Like, do they have all of the same origin, or is there, you know, a difference there? Like, were they always demons, or did they ascend from another race? Since at this point we do know that there have been multiple races, and I still want to know more about the dwarves, damn it.
But me too.
Wait until that happens.
We better get more of that shit.
Charmy arc incoming.
Yes, I'm just really interested to know what their origin is.
Me too.
Like what differentiates them, like or like even if it's like a Bleach thing where like they have that more monstrous form until they're like they acquire more power and become more humanoid, going from like hollow to a Rancor.
Could we see that? Could we see just like the bigger devils just blessing the lower ones with more power and
like an evolution or something? It's certainly possible.
Do we need that in this arc is my question, you know what I mean? Because I feel like, I mean, more you know, more Dio situations the better, I guess, if you know how you're going to write your characters out of them. But you know,
I mean, this is just a series of escalations at this point. I mean, like, I don't want to make this comparison, but in a way it feels very similar to the final arc of Demon Slayer, where it's just like we're just gonna go into this final arc and it's just gonna keep escalating until we reach a conclusion. I don't think we're at that point anymore where there's going to necessarily be like a standard lull in the action. There might be like a temporary few hour kind of lull, but it's not like we're gonna have some kind of like big pause at this point, considering that the Tree of Qlifoth is going to fully activate within 7 days.
Ooh, Qlifoth.
Say it was.
I don't think I've heard it pronounced that way yet. I think I like that pronunciation the best so far. Qlifoth.
I'm very familiar with pronunciations of words.
Okay, cool. I've just heard it pronounced so many different ways. Like, but I think I like this one the most.
Welcome to the anime community.
Yeah, and if this is the proper way it's supposed to be pronounced, then
I'm pretty sure it is. Just again, based on my understanding of these words used previously. I mean, who knows? But again, the anime community, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
we'll have people pronounce any given word 8 different ways,
True.
left, right, and sideways. So
Got
I
me.
mean, like, that's what it is. But
Yeah.
like at this point, we're on a timetable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
things are going. We don't know how fast that is going to accelerate. Obviously, since more.
It's already been accelerated.
Right. We don't know if it'll accelerate further.
Mhm.
Right.
Because we don't know what level of like synchronization Morris is at right now. So
Right.
who's to say that like if he's able to acclimate to the devil contract and like accelerate it further, this isn't gonna happen in 7 days.
Right.
Like,
Right.
probably not. So I'm interested to see how things progress.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's I still have my reservations of how it started, since we had the Dark Triad being fought from the get-go.
Right.
And then fully released to like 100%, which 100%'s not going to be the end point. It's
No.
not.
Yeah.
They're going to exceed 100% in some way or another.
150%. Yeah, okay. So now we're in the dark tournament of Yu Yu Hakusho, and the
Yes.
final boss is younger Toguro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except
But there's
everyone
3
is
of them.
Toguro.
Yeah.
Right. And one of them's a dominatrix. So, you know, it is what it is. Oh, God, the amount of people that want to be stepped on by her is ridiculous.
I'm one
But
of
then
them, bro.
again,
So let's chill. No, I'm kidding. I'm good off.
All right,
I'm
bye,
good off
guys.
Vanica. I'm definitely good off Vanica, but I do remember the
Yep.
simping was very strong when her character.
It's still strong.
out, and it's
it
still
will
going.
not be anything but strong. It's just,
Especially if Tabata
But-
keeps giving her these fucking side boob panels.
yeah. The fact that, okay, again, a couple chapters ago, the fact that he got away
Mhm.
and it wasn't like they didn't pull a Chainsaw Man on the
Right.
Viz Media app.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
He got away with having them naked on a cover,
Yeah.
the siblings, covered in like brown blood.
Yeah.
Her nipples were
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah.
he specifically made those circles darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did they get away with that on the Viz Media app compared to the? Well, I mean, the Chainsaw Man was literally, hey, let's have a zombie lesbian orgy.
Yeah, like
on
that
this
Yes,
was
cover.
yes.
actual like
Like,
reproductive organs touching each
There
other.
was no covering. It was just them all naked. So
Yeah.
like, I guess they were like, I guess this passes the censor. Let it go. But like, I'm just like,
Yeah,
they're
go ahead.
naked.
Naked?
They're naked.
Fine.
Her nipples are there.
Go
It's
ahead.
like,
That's cool. But touching naughty bits, soon
Yeah.
as they come in contact,
Yep.
it's going
Nope.
to the app. It's
Yep.
digital only.
Yep. Because that's the thing, like, and again, I mentioned Claymore before. Claymore, the entire Claymore manga is available on the Viz Media app. You don't have to go online,
Mhm.
despite the fact that there are nipples everywhere. I mean,
Right.
not everywhere, but
Yeah.
like, there are naked
Right.
lady bits. Like, and it's
Mhm.
just like, hey, it's on the app, you know. This,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So this guy on page 12, do we know who these people actually, I should say, are that this demon is attacking, that is getting hit and screaming and in
well,
agony?
I know. So we're still dealing with like the what's the word? Not the revolution, but the
Mhm.
Resistance.
the
Resistance.
the resistance mages are working together with Makusa's group to try and fend off the demons while they're still evacuating people, because they're not done yet.
So this is just showing
Um,
collateral damage, essentially. Like this isn't
yes.
this isn't an important character. It's just showing people are getting hit by these demons.
Let's be honest, they're probably not important if they haven't been named at this point, and
Yeah.
they're fighting the
Yeah.
technically fodder demons that are
Right.
coming out right
Right.
now. So, like,
I even bet that this dude is named. I mean, like he looks vaguely familiar,
Yeah.
but I certainly
probably
don't
is,
care
but-
enough to even know his name. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's not important in the actual story.
Okay,
In the
that's
grand
the only
scheme of
question that I
things,
really had.
Yeah,
so, okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this beam
Yeah.
of light that comes out and like shoots at these people, and they're like, "What?" And they're like, "What was that powerful spell? It only attacked the devils, leaving the humans unscathed." So this is a pretty big plot point, I want to say. And you have to ask, okay, who did this come from? We can assume, I don't know, Luck is kind of like right there, front row and center. Does that sound like Luck? I don't know. Gaja's also right there with the same
Right.
affinity for magic, so could say it's
It's-
Gaja, and he's
it's
more
either
front
of
row
those
center.
two,
Yeah, it's
guaranteed.
either of those two.
Because
Now,
obviously, like the ability is like a beam, right?
Yep.
And so like,
there is one more.
and on the top of the double spread of 1415, on the top, Who on Earth, behind the Who on Earth is an electrical like
Yeah.
little drawing. So it's
Mhm.
definitely one of those two. Oh, but is there a
oh,
third?
it could be
There is one
Mimosa
more.
because solar beam, right?
Nope, there could be one more. because he was tucked away between Luck's arm and leg. Patri is
Look at him.
and
Oh,
Patri
okay,
has
sure.
light
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah, that's
and
right, that's right.
Patri has experience with devils.
Yeah.
Yo.
So
Yeah. But
I'm
see,
not saying it is him, but like it's a possibility. And like
Yeah.
like Tabata's just like, I'm so clever. I have Patri tucked away between Luck's arm and leg, so you can just see his head. But it's just like, I saw him.
I love
the
the Patri answer. I think that that's definitely what it is. I think that you explained that beautifully for me. But the line of dialogue here that says it only attacked the devils, leaving the humans unscathed, as a okay. So this is how like kind of like my thought process went on this. So like first I was like, there's a condition on the magic to where it only hits I was like, no, this isn't Hunter, this isn't Undead Unluck, this isn't.
But we can do conditions for the record in Black Clover with runes. We literally can do conditions.
Yeah. So we have conditions. Okay. So then remind me here then. Inside of the conditions of the runes, you can set them to say whatever as long as there's like an advantage and a caveat.
You can say like go in circles. You can say be bigger. You can say be
sure,
hotter, be
sure,
faster.
sure.
You
Okay.
can probably say
Programming
only
code.
kill devils.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. Because other than that, I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what it is, because you actually have the runes right there during the panel where it's explaining what was that powerful spell. It only attacked devils, leaving the humans unscathed. On that panel, there's literal like rune.
I didn't notice those runes there for sure.
Right there.
So I'm going to say this is Gaja.
Right, so if it's Gaja,
or Luck, I guess.
Gaja or Luck, it could still be Patri with runes, and we just
definitely
didn't
could still
know
be
that Patri had runes. But the reason why I'm focusing on this is because this made me think of a conversation that we've had on the show during Black Clover segments before about how, for example, when Mario Leona has her fire paw, you know, that she has, and she goes to go grab you by your head, you're not burning. You know what I mean? Even though a flaming hand is touching you. There's also a scene where Fuego Leon, with his one arm that's made of fire, and his regular arm is holding a document and like reading it, and the document is not bursting into flames. So we had a conversation about like your control of magic, and you just like your aura's intent, just knowing who's an enemy and who's not. You know what I mean? And just knowing that you can still use your magic aesthetically, but maybe not have your aura be neutral and not aggressive or defensive, and then it just doesn't burn or affect things that you don't want it to affect. And I was thinking that this situation could be a, you know, more exaggerated or a turned up version of that control of your magic, which is like a really big deal, because like because like we've seen a lot of upgrades to characters, but I mean, if you can upgrade to a point to where like you have these huge AoE abilities but there's no friendly fire because you just have that much control of your magic, that's a really good angle to take the power system in for like what we understand of it. So I think that would be really fucking cool if that was a thing. But I think I like the rune situation. You just commanded it to only attack a certain kind of person. I like that.
I just had an idea.
Yeah, what do you got?
Tell me.
Okay, so I don't think we can exclude Patri yet in terms of like the magic with the runes thing. And here's the reason why. The reason why I'm thinking this is that for what we are potentially aware of, given that, you know, what happened in the Heart Kingdom, I'm thinking that the elf tribe that they were able to find is in the Heart Kingdom. So what if the reason why that the Heart Kingdom is, at least at the base level, familiar with rune magic is because they learned it from the elves, and that was passed down over time. So like,
love
that being said, and this goes into the like the training that was done by Noelle's group and like the Heart mages, like it would make sense that like the training that Patri and the elves were going to give them was going to be conducive and, you know, leveling up the stuff that they've already done. Because by all means, if it's very possible that like what they were taught is still very different, but the fact that they were able to get it done in, you know, like 3 days or something, whatever it was, it would make sense if it was, you know, conducive to what they already learned. And again, especially if like this group of elves is somewhere in the Heart Kingdom, that's where they're based, it would kind of make sense, just given how old the elf race is, if that was something that was kind of passed on with them. So
For sure.
I'm interested to see again like what this training did for them to get them to a higher level than what they were already at. So other than that, it's also possible if that wasn't the case, like by all means, like if like Patri was told like, hey, like there's also like runes that you can do your magic, like if there was like a swapping of knowledge thing. But I'd like to think, and if I could be wrong, I might be wrong, but like if there was that like that history, at least with that group of elves where they learned rune-based magic, and that was then passed on to the Heart Kingdom just based on that area.
I like that idea, dude. I think I like that a lot because that would. I think I like unexpected things like that. You know what I mean? Where you think, okay, like we have a really good, or we think we have a really good understanding of how these areas of the world work, and then you get history. You know what I mean? That tells you it was like this before, and then you get that whole picture, and like that's a really cool detail. You know what I mean? We learned about runes through Heart Kingdom, so we think that they originate here from the indigenous people of this area or something like that, and then you get lore that says, oh no, the elves were here first. The elves had this rune magic and just taught it to Heart Kingdom and then bounced. Like that's cool, you know, information to get, especially when you think you've got, you know, the right idea beforehand. You know what I mean?
Especially since this, I'm pretty sure it was said that this was like a different group of elves from the group of elves that got killed in the Clover Kingdom. So like by all means, like, and not that this is necessarily the case, but it's also possible that there could be a different group of elves in the Diamond Kingdom, or a different group of elves somewhere in the Spade Kingdom, or maybe the dwarves are in the Diamond Kingdom or something. But like, I think that's at least going to be my running theory for now.
I like it.
Just because again, for them to learn again something completely different from what they already learned, it's just like, since that whole 6-month process was about them learning to incorporate runes into their magic and whatnot, to learn something that's just completely different, like in 3 days, like that doesn't make sense. Like there would have to be like something that just unlocks a further step of what they've already learned, rather than just being like a hard pivot into something that's just like, unless they have a hyperbolic time chamber in the Heart Kingdom elf territory, which I doubt. Like, but I mean, who knows?
I really like this. I like this line of thinking that you have though, Axel, because that makes it feel really good. Like all of this time stuff, you know what I mean? I mean, not all of the time stuff
earned,
but
rather than just like thrown out there.
Yeah, man. But really excited for next chapter because it's like the whole gang is here. They're still in Clover. You know what I mean? So it's like
no, this is Spade.
It's they're in the Spade.
This is Spade.
Which I'm curious as to how
Wait a minute.
knew how to get there. Just because, like, since Finral's magic only allows him to go to places that he was at before, unless he scouted it out, like, it's kind of interesting that, like, he was able to appear there.
Oh, okay, wait. So so at the beginning of this chapter, they're in Clover, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they used Finral's...
Then they pulled up, Finral's...
Or at least we think that they used Finral's magic to get there. Because obviously we don't know what this full group is yet.
Right.
I mean, again, the fact that they tucked Patri behind Luck's arm and leg, we don't know who's all hidden in the background. Like,
and there's a bunch of mist, dust.
Right. Like, I'm guessing that the full elf gang is there. I'm guessing that we're gonna see like Patri's full group. We may even see other elves. Obviously, we're seeing like Gaja and some other like Heart Kingdom mages. So I'm really curious as to see like who's all there. But like the cavalry's coming. It's just going to be interesting to see how far into the development of the Tree of Cleofoth they're going to be able to go before they hit that wall.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I'm good on Black Clover. Do you guys have anything else that you guys wanted to touch on?
No, yeah.
I'm just happy to talk about Black Clover.
Hell yeah, dude.
I don't get enough opportunities to talk about Black Clover. And as one of those fans that is not one of those fans on Twitter, and not one of those people that constantly has to deal with the flame war against Black Clover. It's nice to be able to talk about Black Clover in a conducive environment.
Yeah, dude.
So
yeah, for sure.
You're welcome to any of the people watching that are a Black Clover fan and wanted another person on the podcast that is a fan. So,
Yes.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Positive
thank you.
vibes,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
had a
yeah.
great conversation, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, My Hero Academia, the last chapter tonight, no One Piece, so we will finish off with My Hero Academia, chapter 302, The Wrong Way to Put Out a Fire, part dos. How do we feel?
Yeah, I mean, good continuation of last chapter, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, like this, as we were saying last week, like this is like the make or break scene
Yeah.
for Endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Like, will we be able to feel good about liking Endeavor, or will we be encouraged to view Endeavor in a very, very, very negative light, right? So, like, and I think doing a good job of at least, you know, putting forward the viewpoint that Horikoshi wants us to see. You know what I mean?
And this is something that you have to write very carefully. You know what I mean?
Very carefully.
And probably the most careful I've ever known a mangaka having to write a character in the last who knows how long, because Kohei has been under a microscope for this entire arc. Like literally from the beginning, or not this arc, but like, you know, including the Paranormal Liberation War, like at the start, when we get the name of the doctor, already he's under like intense scrutiny for that. You know, then a whole bunch of other decisions that he makes throughout, you know, the series that are based not on just narrative things, but just like morality, you know what I mean? And if he's under this intensive a microscope, he's got to really be feeling it, knowing how people, you know, feel about the Todoroki family, you know what I mean? And for what he, you know, for the decision that he made on how he was going to handle this situation, and the end result of how we're supposed to feel about Endeavor by the end of this chapter, I think he wrote it beautifully. I think he wrote it the way he needed to, and the way he probably always knew he was going to. But I'm very happy with this chapter, I guess is what I'm saying.
He had to toe the line because obviously there was already a lot of fan backlash the first time there was any attempt to make Endeavor's character better. Where you had a lot of people that were, you know, causing backlash saying Endeavor does not deserve to be redeemed.
Right.
As far as you know, right now, with the information you have. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's the thing, is that these past few chapters, because we did not have, you know, this clear-cut picture of what the Todoroki family looked like. We did not know the full picture between Toya and Dabi and like the what he became. Like
last thing we thought was that Ray was gonna suck too.
Like
that was the last thing that I was expecting. Like
100%.
I feel like I'm like watching like, you know, fucking like Jersey Shore drama, you know what I mean, with like my popcorn and shit, like, oh wait, the mom sucks too, oh no, type shit, you know what I mean?
So that's the thing, is that these past couple chapters have been completely rewriting and destroying headcanons that people had for this family for years now. For years. Headcanons are just being destroyed left and right. And so in the long run, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of reaction the fans have, just again, given the fact that people were so against Endeavor's redemption. And now it's just like the fact that like everybody was like, before it was confirmed who Dabi was, there was always this thing of like, oh, Dabi is a tragic character and like he deserves to be redeemed, but Endeavor is shit. And it's just like, no, like
it's a weird line. It's a weird like area, you know what I mean, to walk on, because then, you know, I feel like a lot of people might not even think about it as deeply as they need to. They have their like initial emotional responses to seeing a character like Dabi and getting his pathos and getting his whole story, and then just like immediately feeling inside of themselves, yes, redeem this character, or no, do not redeem this character. And the same way with Endeavor, you know what I mean? But like when it comes down to it, once you are in a situation where you are supporting Dabi, you know, and vilifying Endeavor, then like now, you know, you are in a position where you are choosing what crimes are okay and what crimes aren't okay. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And like once you get to that kind of situation, that's why I feel like people don't really think about this stuff too much, because they just choose their side and act like they have all of the, you know, the reasoning to support why they feel the way that they do. When like at the bottom of the line, it's like, who are you to get to choose that this is something that's worthy of being redeemed and this is something that's not? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like we're not allowed to really make
In
those choices. We have to treat it as all like either all of this crime is fucked up and this dude
Right.
killed people, this dude did whatever the fuck he did with his family and it's all fucked up, and no, like I personally feel like none of them deserve to be redeemed, or all of them do. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Sure.
So
It's interesting that you say like picking a side, right? And
Yeah.
and I totally think that people are doing that and have
Yeah.
been doing that. But I think just thinking about this now, I think the side people have been picking has been Shoto's side, right?
Sure, yeah.
So in a sense, I think you could say that if anyone would be mad about this situation,
Yeah.
it's that there has been a little bit, you could argue, of a bait and switch where
Mhm.
like Shoto has been saying this entire time, like, I fucking hate my father. He's a shitbag. And my mother guaranteed is a good person, right?
Mhm.
And so we've been given that narrative the entire story. And as Axel, you were saying, right? Like you build around that because you love Shoto so much. You build around that a headcanon of filling in the unsaid reasons of, okay, let's go deeper into why Endeavor's a shitbag, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of reasons to maintain he is a shitbag, right? I think this
Oh, yeah,
chapter,
absolutely.
him drawn, he's always drawn in this chapter in the flashbacks like dark. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like from
Yep.
lit from the back, so he like looks very menacing and evil, right? But I
Mhm.
think basically that like as I was saying, like the side people were picking was Shoto actually, not necessarily Dabi. Dabi I think is a cool. Everyone likes a fun, cool villain. Like they like Shiggy and they like
Yeah.
Toga and shit. Like Toga's a psychopath, but people love her, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for Dabi. But I think like it's we've been told to hate Endeavor, and now Horikoshi is writing him to be, you know, like, well, he's
Sympathetic
not the
again.
only bad guy here.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, not the only one. Yeah.
Yep. And
Mhm.
even saying that like Rei has her faults
Mhm.
and the other siblings have their
Mhm.
faults.
Right. Yeah.
Like finally coming to terms with like, yes, Endeavor was a problem,
Yeah.
but he wasn't the only problem.
Yeah.
Yes. We all had our hand in the neglection of Toya. So we are all taking responsibility for the monster that was born from that.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
even if this isn't a overall redemption of all of the characters involved, including Endeavor, at the very least, it is a way to amicably close off this conflict in a way
Mhm.
that feels right inside of this family, even if they're not a happy family at the end of it. Like this needs
Mhm.
to happen
Yeah.
in this way, and it's great that they get to come together to deal with this one threat and this one
Mhm.
issue inside of their family and inside of the world at large. But also, this is not the end of the Todoroki dysfunction, in my opinion. I
Right.
think that
No.
they come together to deal with this, and then you still got to a whole bunch of skeletons in this closet. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like I think that this should not be seen as a, all right, the Todoroki family is lit, they're a superhero family and it's fucking sky high, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
Incredibles type shit, you know what I mean? It's definitely not going to be like that, you know what I mean?
Hey, I love Sky High.
I love Sky High too.
I want my hero to be like Sky High. Don't hate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think that this family needs to ever eventually become the Incredibles or anything that can
No.
be resembled to a happy superhero family.
Because
I
that's
think
not what they are.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
I think it's too far. I think they're too far gone to go back to a state like that, if or not back to a state, or to ever reach a state like that, I guess is what I should say. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't think that that's what Kohei is intending either. And I understand that a lot of people can think whatever they want about the events of this chapter and assume, like they're always going to assume a bunch of things based off, you know, the information that they have. That's all they can do. But at the end of the day, it's like I think it's very clear to me right now, at least, how Kohei wants to go about this, and I'm all the way here for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's obviously they're not going to become some kind of Incredibles family.
Yeah.
That's not what it is. At the end of the day, the two heroes are Endeavor and Shoto.
Right.
Mhm.
His other siblings, they didn't follow that line of work.
That's right.
And
I guess I
with
didn't
that
really
being
mean it as
said-
in all the whole family's gonna be
Right.
pros, you know,
Right.
pro heroes or
But-
anything like that. But
right,
yeah.
but like tying it into the chapter, like
Mhm.
there was always that kind of mental thing where it's just like with the whole, like you know, like heroes. Are
Yeah.
you running away? Aren't you just running away?
Yeah.
Like, I think in some aspect, like because they were seeing this world of heroes and what they were seeing with their brothers, like the other two were just like, we're not gonna do this. Like,
Right.
that's not what we are about. Like,
Right.
we don't want to be involved in that. We're
Mhm.
already seeing the trauma that's going on, and we realize that we can't reach those standards. And like, it's already been acknowledged
Yeah.
that Toya can't, but Shoto was the miracle child.
Mhm.
Like, there's no room for us to be in that world, and
Yeah.
Right.
it's not like that's going to be a change now. But
Yeah.
I think like you guys have mentioned, I believe in like the last video, like it's very possible that we'll see the family come together
Yeah.
in some kind of fashion to address the nation.
Yeah.
Right. Like a press
Depending
conference.
on-
Yeah.
Right. Whether or not that has an impact, we'll see. Obviously, the world has gone to shit
Right.
now. As we saw with Hawks and Genus going around, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who knows what's going to come of it? Like,
Hmm.
this could just make, Dobby double down on his efforts.
Right.
We don't know. Like, we don't know the state of anything, really, outside of what's going on in the hospital, and like a little bit of like some of the outside scenery stuff. We don't know what's going on with UA.
Mhm.
We don't know what's going on with All for One after the jailbreaks and whatnot. We don't know what happened to the Paranormal Liberation Front and like the Hero Society government higher ups and whatnot.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
there's so much we don't know, and
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting once we finally leave those hospital doors and see what's become of this world. But I do
Ooh.
think that a press conference is probably coming, because I love press conferences
Right,
at
right.
My Hero Academia. Dear Lord,
Yeah.
the
Right.
amount of press conferences.
Yeah. Going back through this chapter, it makes me wonder, and just like these chapters in general, it makes me like kind of like, I don't want to say worried about Kohei, but it makes me wonder like what like his life was like. Because like when you have like a situation like this with a family that's dysfunctional and with a father figure inside of it that's abusive, like this can be written like we've seen abuse, like domestic abuse in manga storytelling before, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or
I
in
mean,
just in
this
fiction.
one has had it like 4 or 5 times already.
Yeah, like
from
just in
different
fictional,
families.
yeah, like in fictional storytelling in general, you know what I mean? Like it's very easy to write an abusive father, you know what I mean? Like just stereotypically yelling, a verbal abuse, physical abuse. Like you can do that pretty easily, but this is like very nuanced, esoteric abuse that you really have to know this family to understand. I mean, obviously there's very intense moments where Endeavor's just like in full monster mode talking crazy, but
Right.
like as far as like their interactions as a family and the dysfunction that we see, it all is like very like nuanced. It's not very stereotypical dysfunction or abuse. So I feel
Right.
like that it makes me think that like maybe Kohei, I don't want to assume things about him, but it's like you have to like kind of like come from a situation like this to be in order to write it this well, I want to say.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that makes me feel kind of
It's
bad.
deep.
It's very deep.
Has
Yeah.
depth in terms of the level of interactions, right?
Yeah,
It's not, as you
yeah.
said, it's not so simple as Endeavor is just yelling a lot. He yells
Yeah.
at Ray a lot, or whatever. He
Yeah.
does yell at Ray a lot, but there's all these intricacies of all the family members like interacting with each other in various
Yeah.
ways, and it's very believable. It's very
Yeah.
believable. It's very like, I think, solidly written. You know what I mean? Like, so I do agree with you. Like either he's very good at writing shitty situations or he's been in a complicated shitty situation.
Right.
It's I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just some
Yep.
I've been that last couple chapters have been making me think about, because it's like this is almost too, I don't want to say relatable, but like
Mhm.
this feels really real.
Right.
Like this
right.
is based on a family.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It is also, though, again, the third family that we're seeing in the series
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
had a dad that was like this. Obviously, Hawk's dad, we briefly got to see stuff with that, and that's your stereotypical, abusive father.
Mhm.
We've got the situation with the Todorokis, where we already had, that domestic abuse and other stuff that we saw, and now this is filling in the blanks in that. But then we also have the Shigaraki family in a
Mhm.
very
Right.
different
Yeah.
kind of abusive family, where it was more so not necessarily like more of the controlling kind
Yeah.
of abusive, rather
Mhm.
than like the stereotypical just
caricature,
people,
abusive
stuff
dad
like that.
caricature. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So it was very different in that regard. So
Mhm,
like
mhm.
he's painted this picture 3 different ways, and by all means,
It's super
I wouldn't be
believable in
surprised
every
if we get 4 or
situation.
5.
Yeah,
right.
like it's
So
almost
it's
too.
possible.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope that's not the case,
hmm
but like if it is the case, I'm sorry that it is. If it's not, it's great that he's been able to write it 3 different ways so far and
Right.
distinguish them in
Yep.
3 different
Yep.
ways.
Yeah.
I had a question for y'all in terms
Mhm.
of something early in the chapter here, right? So if you look at page 2, we get this like flash forward within the flashback, like 5 years later, and we got Fuyumi and Natsuo coming to Toya, like, hey, let's play or whatever, and he's at his computer, right? And of course, it's very normal for a little kid to be at a computer or whatever, but I guess I got this vibe, right? Like, and tell me what you think about this. That like he's on his computer, page 2, and then page 4. Toya is talking to Natsuo and kind of like Natsuo's trying to fall asleep and he's like
Mhm.
ranting at him, right? Like
Mhm.
like kind of like going like trying to rant about this and go deep into like we should be more mad about this, right?
Yeah.
Was he like radicalized online? Like could he have been like talking to villain-minded people on the internet? And then because on page 4, he almost seems to be talking about like heroes generally, right? Like
yeah.
isn't that crazy? Like, is that what modern heroes are all about? Making
Yeah.
all these kids they don't even need? As if he's like almost been on a forum about court
Yes.
marriages or something, right? Like, and you know what I mean? Obviously, there's no hints that he was on any particular website, but that's the vibe I got.
But this is a really cool observation, though, Nick, for real.
That is a good theory. Because that being said, he's still of the mindset like he wants to be better. He wants to like improve. He wants to be the hero that can surpass All Might. He's still in that mentality.
Right.
What if, and just because we get this information a little bit more in the future when he confronts his mother, what if he's actually looking up information about his family? And that's how he found out about his mother's situation.
Yes, he does find it out.
Oh, shit. Let's go.
Like, how would he know that otherwise? That like
that her family was poor.
Yeah. So all of this could obviously come from the computer.
Yeah.
Both of your ideas
could
be true
for
at the same
for
time.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It could be. I mean, it could also be anything simple from like him watching videos of like All Might or Endeavor or whatever. Like, we don't know what's on that screen, but like, to me, like at some point he had to figure out, the situation with his mom and his dad. Like, there's only so much that you can get on a surface level. Like, I don't know if they ever had any interaction with their grandparents on Ray's side. But how would he know that kind of information if he didn't either hear it from somebody else at school or find that out online?
Very good point.
Very confident that like that information in some capacity would find its way online via tabloid or something. Like the heroes, paparazzi are always looking after heroes and whatnot. The fact that like Endeavor has had 4 kids, like who is the mom? Like, why do they look the way that they do? Like, this is all stuff that would definitely be news. So I think that that's like definitely a possibility that like he was looking at something online to get more information, and that is whether that was intended that he found it or he found that through extension through looking for Endeavor stuff or whatever.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
This is a really cool idea, though, and I love that spot, because I would have never thought about that, especially not a page turn later. You know what I mean? With so much going on in between. That is so cool. Time. Yeah, that was very very fat brained spot there.
Not smooth.
Definitely
all the wrinkles,
all the ridges, bumpy.
Another thing I loved about this chapter is the 12-13 double spread or the crossover spread or whatever, where he says Toya's saying like all he ever taught me was how to turn up the heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this to me gets into the chapter title, right? Like last week I was like what's the wrong way to put out a fire? Like talking about it when the fire is actually a bad guy and you shouldn't just put it out or whatever. But like, no, it seems like the wrong way to put out a fire is to burn it out, right? To burn so burny that you burn all the stuff that can be burned and there's nothing left to burn, right? Like it's too much burning.
It was no
burning
longer
the
a
world.
metaphor, it was literal.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
literal fire. It was
Yeah.
a person on fire.
Yeah.
And you could also tie it back to like the wrong way to put out a fire. Oh no, that's the same exact thing that you said. Never mind. Let's keep going.
It's a little bit before that too.
Mhm.
The fact that the fire color change was a result of puberty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Love
The fact
that.
I was
people were
not.
like,
Yeah,
like, oh well, all of the Endeavor kids, like Endeavor and Shoto have red fire, so like Dabi can't be Toya because his fire is blue. And like I know somebody on Twitter was just like, I called this. And I was just like, ah. But
Yeah.
like it's so interesting that like I guess with puberty, that was what made like the chemical reaction in his body or whatnot make that fire that much hotter.
Mhm.
When because it got so hot that it changed from red to blue. And it was also at this time that like there was a reaction with his tear ducts,
Mhm.
and compared to Endeavor, where like his flames on his face come from his
Mustache.
facial hair,
yeah.
Toya's came from his eyes, and that's how he got the
Ooh.
scarring under his eyes.
Hell yeah.
Yo.
Yes, sir. Wow.
Ooh.
So many cool things about
dude, I
this,
love that.
and
Fantastic.
I love it.
And I love how like the answers, come back to some kind of scientific or biological element, right? Like where like
Yeah.
when we finally found out that the reason why Toya was burning himself, it wasn't necessarily because his flames were that much hotter and he didn't have control. It was because he has his mom's body. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's fucking sick. You know what I mean? And then all of a
Yep.
sudden here we have his flames were blue. They were red before, but they would turn blue because of puberty. It always comes back to, you could have just said he was born with blue flames and that's just the next generation of Endeavor's kids.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? But the fact that it always just like comes back to a deeper, more nuanced, like biological or scientific explanation is
Yep.
just amazing storytelling by
Mhm.
Kohei.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're the Ida family, in which case you just have metal engines coming out of your body, because metal engines are organic and explainable. But
Hey, well, to play into that, if you look at X-Men, you have Colossus, who
Yes.
literally just like poop, 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 like you're turning, like
Yep.
you're like
Yep.
putting the shutters down at your restaurant or something like that. He turns into, and they explain that as like osmium is like a a metal that is biological, that is essentially
Sure.
metal but biological. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for putting logic to my argument.
Well, but still at the same
No,
time though, with Colossus, it's literally just like your skin becomes that. With Ida,
Yep.
it's still weird because like although the metal can still be
He has
organic,
actual engines.
yeah,
in his
it's like
body.
actual, like
Yeah.
artificial stuff involved there, or
Yeah.
artificial feeling stuff. So it's still weird,
But
yeah.
yeah. But I like you said though, I really enjoy that like Horikoshi was able to incorporate puberty into explaining
Yeah.
these changes that took place and making it like understandable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The fact that like with his puberty, like the quirk that he inherited from his father became that much stronger, but his constitution, despite the fact that he was getting older, like getting taller and whatnot, his condition wasn't improving in any capacity.
Mhm.
Like it's so great.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really cool.
just well woven together and just well thought out. You can
Mhm.
tell that these chapters, came from the mind so long before
Mhm.
where we are right now. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like this
mhm.
is stuff that could potentially have always been planned by Kohei. This exact scene,
Oh,
this
definitely.
exact way, this
Absolutely.
exact
I mean, with
dialogue, this
the
exact
tear duct
script.
stuff,
Yeah,
with Dabi having those tear duct scars, like boom,
Mhm.
this is planned a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
absolutely. Hell yeah, you guys. I don't think I had. Are we good on My Hero?
Well, what do y'all think? I guess is the next step here, right? So at the
Oh,
end of the
sure.
chapter, we have this kind of like nice little statement. Shoto is our family's hero, right? Endeavor's a shitbag, obviously, we all know that. And Shoto is going to bring us together, right? Like as Endeavor split the family apart,
Mhm.
Shoto, the synthesis between the fire and ice quirks is going to bring us together in more ways than one, right? And then Shoto says like, when you're done grieving, Pops, like get up, we got to go stop Toya, right?
Yeah,
Like, so what
yeah.
do you think it's going to be, like Endeavor and Shoto teaming up, like both of them together, like sidekick style, and going to beat the shit out of Dabi, or
It's a
what?
great question. I think that for like the conflict, obviously, it would just be, Shoto and Endeavor, like in the forefront of that. I don't know how much Natsuo and the rest of the family will be involved on the combat side of things, but I definitely think that if Kohei is going to write a family come together to deal with our crazy brother kind of situation, that throughout the course of the final conflict, everyone is going to have something to do in relation to bringing down Toya.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Whether that's everyone using their quirks and fighting simultaneously, or if it's Rei does some things over here as setup, Natsuo does some things over here as setup, Fuyumi does her thing, and then leading into, they set up a beautiful situation for Endeavor and Shoto to close it off. I think that's fine too. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's definitely gonna be a tag team kind of thing. Like, just because Endeavor at the end of the day has to carry that burden that he created, but Shoto is part of the solution to bring it all together. I thought, just speaking on the fact that it was mentioned that, Shoto is our family's hero, the emotional weight behind that moment was crazy.
Yeah.
Because they even said the fact that, like, out of anyone, Shoto was the one that was hurt above everyone else. He took the brunt of everything. Like, he, like Toya took the brunt of things, but Shoto didn't end up like Toya, and that was part of that reason was because he was able to, go to UA and find friends that helped him to grow as a person.
Yeah.
And, like,
more so the fact that his quirk worked properly,
yes.
I think is like the main thing there.
It helps.
Yeah.
But again, like, the fact that, like, if it wasn't for the people at UA, like, Shoto wouldn't have changed. Shoto wouldn't have, lit these sparks with his family to, like, bring them together. The fact that, like, he was able to start getting to know his siblings. The fact that he called his mom again. The fact that he's even there to encourage Endeavor, but, like, even everything leading up to that point where he's just like, you know what, I don't forgive you for what you did. I acknowledge the fact that you are trying to change, and I acknowledge the fact that you are someone that can help me better myself. If it wasn't for the friends that he made, if it wasn't for Midoriya, we wouldn't be seeing what's happening right now with the Todoroki family. Because Shota would not have opened up otherwise. Like, he could have gone down this path, a similar one to Dabi, like, but in terms of a hero path, similar to Endeavor, while, at the same time shunning what he stood for. So yeah, it's just so emotional. It's so great. Like, it's at the same time, it is a little cliche that it's like Shoto is our hero and he's the one that's bringing the family together. Like, yes, I get it's cliche as well, but, like, it works.
But it makes all the sense. It makes all the sense. You know what I mean?
It does.
And if something's gonna be cliche. But I mean, like, I think that it's even more impressive as an author to take something that's known as a cliche and still make all the sense in your narrative.
For sure.
First. You know what I mean? But yeah, dude, look at this panel of Endeavor. This last panel of Endeavor on 17. That is one of the best Endeavor, like that's one of the best facial expressions I think that Kohei has ever drawn, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite panels.
The range of expressions we've been seeing from Endeavor these last couple chapters.
It's really the eyebrows. It's the eyebrow in this the eyebrow placement in this panel, I think, is everything, because it's not down, like, angry. It's not like, it's so far up, and it just shows, like, let's see if I can find the words. It just shows, like, I'm, like, pitiful, like, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? Like, I am so like, it's every emotion, I feel like, at once, you know what I mean? And I feel like that eyebrow placement really sells his facial expression as just being so happy, sad, and upset with himself, but like excited in the moment that this is like, so many, you could read so many things in this facial expression, and it's like, I don't know.
So
love it.
The one last thing I want to mention for this chapter, just because we saw Hawks and Genist in the hallway, I'm guessing that we'll get a debriefing chapter next chapter.
I think
Ooh, I
it'll
love
switch
that.
perspectives.
I feel like, yeah, I think we're gonna get a massive info dump coming up. Just like being told, like, hey, this is what's going on with the outside world.
Mhm.
The organization that made me into a double, triple, quadruple agent thingy, most of them are dead.
Yeah.
So that's not great. All these prisons got broken into, and all these people are out, and so I think that we're in for an info dump.
Mhm.
Like with this next chapter, it's just like, all right, we've gotten through most of the emotional stuff. We'll get the info dump, and then like a little bit later, they'll remember, oh hey, Midoriya's still in a coma, so we
Right.
should probably get him out of it.
Yeah. I think we get a
but yeah.
bunch of emotional stuff for like everywhere that there is emotional stuff, and then an info dump. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we still have. I think that we could switch perspectives to literally anyone else and get any more like drama and any more like emotional
Sure.
kind of like stuff
Sure.
from anyone else that's has yet to be shown reflecting
All
or anything
Might?
like that. Yeah, like All Might. You know what I
Or
mean? I think we.
or Midoriya's mom.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
That confrontation is coming.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
The last time that like Midoriya's mom and All Might were together,
Mhm.
All Might swore that he would make sure that those things didn't happen to Midoriya again.
Yep.
And what happened immediately after that?
Something
All
10
those
times
things.
Midoriya's
worse.
in a coma.
Yeah,
And he is just broken to hell.
yeah.
That confrontation between the two of them is going to be crazy.
Yes.
I mean, like, we could potentially see, like, All Might is, attempting to go to the hospital to visit Midoriya for the first time, and then the chapter ends with Inko Midoriya
Yeah,
standing in his way in the
Yeah,
hallway saying,
yeah.
"You will not see my boy."
yeah. And then they have this huge, massive chapter of a conversation that
Yeah.
ends with Midoriya like waking up or something. Like, yo.
Maybe.
And then now the conversation continues with all of them involved, and I could
What
see it
if he
happening like that.
doesn't wake up though for a while?
Yeah.
What if Midoriya is actually in an extended coma? What if we had my hero without our hero for an extended period of time? It probably
Again?
won't happen. He'll
Again?
probably wake up.
We already had that in My Villain
Yes,
Academia.
but not My Villain Academia. I'm
Right.
saying like My Hero Academia, but without Midoriya. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Like, this could go in so many different directions
Mhm.
at this point, and I'm interested to see what does happen.
Yes.
I'm still in camp time skip. I feel
Yeah.
like a time
Sure.
skip is coming.
I like that.
I don't know how long of a time skip.
Mhm.
Maybe just enough to get them into their second year. It would be absolutely crazy if Horikoshi was just like, "Hey, guess what? We're time skipping to after UA." I don't think they will.
Yeah,
No,
that's
yeah.
way
But, like,
too far.
Right, but like it would be interesting to see.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Again, just because of how society has changed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, what is an appropriate amount of time
Right.
to show that change?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good question.
Like, because I mean, at this point too, like, how much sense does it make to continue showing things from UA, given how much the public perception has changed?
Right.
Right.
Like, what sense does a hero school make when heroes aren't, doing what they need to save society?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I think a time skip is coming. Like, I think it would make sense if it was a time skip to like when they became second years,
Mhm.
maybe. It would be absolutely crazy if it was, post UA all of a sudden.
That would
Yeah.
be crazy.
That would be so nuts.
People would lose their minds.
Lose
It was
their
like,
shit.
we
I'd be
were
one of them.
denied Shinso in second year. How could
Yeah.
you, Horikoshi?
How could you?
Oh my god. Yeah, man. A lot of exciting developments.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of ways that this can go, but I think that
Yeah, that's all
will
I
do
had
it
for-
My Hero, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. What a conversation, you guys.
Hell yeah.
That was This Week
Uh-huh.
in Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 12. Axel Plays. Thanks for joining us, man. We had a great conversation, dude.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Dude.
It's been a long time in the making, and I'm
Yeah.
glad it finally happened.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to when I can have this kind of conversation with the full crew. But I
Yeah.
understand that things aren't, happening right now.
Yeah,
We'll get there. We ain't going
Going on,
nowhere. You
so-
know what I'm saying?
I know.
We gonna figure that out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Also excited for when I can finally see you guys in real life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not
seriously,
that far
man.
away.
We're so
like,
close, dude.
yeah, it's
When-
gonna be fun.
As soon as conventions come back, you already know what it is,
Oh
bro.
my god, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Whether or not Daishokan happens this year, I
Oh
mean,
man, I'm like
that'll
so.
be the test.
Yeah, like I'm like so not even expecting that. If it happens, great.
Right.
But like,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to put Axel's contact information down in the description. Make sure you guys check out his YouTube channel, see what he's got going on. Follow him on Twitter. You guys can see his handle on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 12. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, slap a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscription button if you're new here, and make sure you hit the notification bell so we can chirp you when new content is live. And make sure you visit the description to check out where you can find us on social media, where you can join our online communities like Discord, where you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music and whatnot. And if you would be so generous, there's links that you can follow to see what we're doing on like our online store and Patreon and whatnot. But with all that said, I think that will do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Wrapping up, I'm Knox.
And Nickums.
And I'm Axel Ablaze.
We'll catch y'all next time.